Hello, my dear students. Hope you guys are all doing good. Hope you guys are all perfectly fine. I hope you have done all your preparation well, and I hope you're all ready for your examination. Wish you all the very best, guys, for the coming examination. So as you have few days left for the examination, and also you'll be busy with preparing for each and every examination. So just I wanted to bring before you the explanation of the auditing MTPs which have been recently released by the ICI. See, the main intention of doing this video, the main intention why I am trying to explain this MTP series is to build the capacity in you to make you understand the questions, to make you read the questions in a proper way in the examination. So as you might have experienced, if you have gone through the MTP series of especially auditing paper, the questions were very bit conceptual. The questions are very conceptual. Straightforward questions are very minimum, bare minimum straightforward questions they have asked. But most of the questions, especially MCQs, are very much case study oriented. So I want you guys to have that skill of reading the questions in a proper way and understanding the questions in a proper way, and try to try to get from where this question has been tested from. That is the most important thing. Once you have read the question, you should be able to get to know, okay, this is the question which relates to so and so standard. This is the question which relates to so and so chapter. That thing has to strike your mind immediately. So the main intention why I'm going to explain this MTPs, I just don't want to explain you the questions and answers which are given in the MTP, but I want you to concentrate on the way I'm reading the questions, the way I'm interpreting the questions, the way I'm finding out the answer. Just concentrate on the approach. Don't just pay attention on reading the question and understanding the answer. That you can do it. There is no need of me to make you explain the MTP. See, the logic behind me explaining this MTP is to build that thinking capacity, to build that reading power, to make you understand the importance of reading the questions in the correct perspective and getting the conceptual clarity behind the questions. That is my main intention, not just reading out the MTP questions and reading the answers. That is not my main intention. My main intention is to make you develop the skill of reading the questions in a correct perspective. So with that thing having said, so I will try to continue my discussion. So I will not waste much of your time. I know your all time is very precious. So I will directly jump into the questions. So as you could see here, there are first MCQs are there for total 30 marks, and then we have this question, then we have this descriptive questions. So 30 marks are there for MCQs, and balance 70 marks are there for the descriptive questions. So first let us have a quick look at MCQs now. So there are case scenario based MCQs are there. As you could have observed, 3 case scenario based MCQs are there, and for case scenario based MCQs, there will be marks. So first case scenario 1 carries 10 marks, case scenario 2 carries 8 marks, case scenario 3 carries 6 marks, and apart from that, general MCQs are also there which carries 6 marks. So now I'm going to begin my discussion with case scenario number 1. Let us see what they're trying to say here. Dhanush, a CA student undergoing articles, is a part of an engagement team conducting audit of Test Enterprises Private Limited. So there is a engagement team which is conducting the audit of some company, Test Enterprises Private Limited, and in that engagement team, one of the CA student, Dhanush, is an engagement team member. The company is engaged in business of conducting aptitude and language tests every fortnight at centers spread all over major cities of the country for Indian students desirous of applying to foreign universities. Basically, it is an online education platform. Basically, what is the client is engaged into, what kind of business the client is doing? The client is doing the online education business. That is, they are conducting a test for the students. They are conducting various aptitude and language tests on every 15 days. That's what they have told, every fortnight at centers spread across all major cities of the country. So basically, they are a edtech platform. It also sells books containing a model test papers for the benefit of the students. Not just offering the examination, they are also into the business of selling books. The company has substantial number of computers at each center to enable seamless experience for students appearing for standardized aptitude and language test. In order to run the test, they are having a huge number of computers also at all their centers. The company has acquired new identifiable software involving substantial expenditure for conducting tests during the year, which is expected to drive company's revenue in the coming years. In order to make that examination and in order to make the increase the student experience and all, recently they have invested in some software and they have made a huge expenditure in that software. At the time of taking a test, a CD containing software is run in each system for enabling a student to take the test. Nothing but if a student has to give an examination in this system, once he sits before the system, there will be a software inside that computer, and before a student can give the examination, a CD will be there. That CD will be installed in that system, and that will be run in the software. Then the student will be able to give the examination. So some kind of CD along with the software integration kind of thing they are working. Cost of CD without software is nominal. So the main thing lies in the software here. The main investment is software. So without this software, if you have CD, nothing is going to happen. In order for the student to give the test successfully, they need software. Main investment is software, and in that software they will run a CD. Then the student will be able to give the examination. If that software is not there, CD cost is minimal, bare minimal. So CD cost is very negligible, but but significant part of that entire process is software. So that's what they're trying to say here. So at the time of taking a test, a CD containing software is run in each system for enabling students to take the test. Cost of CD without the software is nominal. The revenue of the company during the financial year 2023-24 was 50 crore rupees. Out of that, 45 crores is in the form of fees charged from the students, and 5 crores is from sale of books. So they have total revenue from operations. See, their main business is conducting the examination and selling of the books. So from that business, they have generated a total revenue from operations of 50 crore rupees. Out of that 50 crores of revenue also, 45 crores is in the form of fees collected from the students for conducting the examination, and balance 5 crore is in the form of sale of books. Besides, company has also received 10 lakh rupees as interest on certain investments during the year. This is other income. The revenue from operations main is 50 crore rupees. Apart from that, they have some other income in the form of interest of 10 lakh rupees on as a interest income on investments. The company has a history of profitable operations. Even in the past also, they have made a significant amount of profits. They have a very good track record of making profits. During the course of audit, it is noticed by Dhanush that computers from significant chunk of PPE items in the financial statements of the company. So when this article assistant, when this engagement team member is going through that audit, he came to know that when it comes to the company's PPE, the significant portion of PPE is in the form of computers only. The main asset, the main element of the PPE is computers. The company has taken useful life of computers consisting of desktop for 3 years. And these computers have to be depreciated over their useful life, right? And they have used how much useful life, they have determined the useful life of that computers to be 3 years for the purpose of calculating of depreciation. However, depreciation charged on computers in the financial statements of the company is higher than the depreciation allowable under income tax law. Nothing but the amount of depreciation which you have calculated as per the books of accounts and the depreciation which is allowed for tax purposes, both are different. And in fact, they are telling that whatever depreciation which you are claiming in the accounts, that depreciation is much higher. But whereas for the income tax calculation purposes, the depreciation amount is lower. For example, for the accounting, just if I give an example in the figures, for example, as per the calculation in the books of accounts, the depreciation amount is 10 crore rupees. But for the taxation purposes, as per the Income Tax Act, depreciation allowed is 8 crore rupees only. That means because of this, what will happen? Taxable income will be high. Taxable income is going to be high than the books of accounts income, than the income as per books of accounts. Since the depreciation is a bigger figure in the books of accounts, the profit as per the books of accounts will be lower, whereas the profits as per for the tax purposes will be higher. That means you will be paying more tax. You'll be paying more tax. Yes or no? Why? Because taxable income will be little bit higher. But if you pay close attention, it is just a time gap. Depreciation is just a time gap. So now in the current year, you are making huge payment of taxes, but in the subsequent years, your accounting income also will come down. That means in the future, you can, whatever excess tax you have paid, that will get reduced. That will reduce the tax liability in the future. That means if you pay close attention here, there is a deferred tax asset. As per the accounting standard number 22, there is a deferred tax asset getting generated here. Able to understand? Clear, everybody? So why I'm telling you this? Why? Because there is one question regarding that deferred tax asset. Able to understand all the background discussion? So for the accounting purposes, the profit is lower. For taxation purposes, profit is higher. That means as per the Income Tax Act, you will be paying a higher tax. But this tax, whatever you are paying higher, in the subsequent periods, what will happen is actually accounting profits will become lower, taxation profits might become higher. So there is just a time gap here. So that means you are paying excess tax here, but in the future, your tax liability will become reduced. So now here what you can do is, as per the accounting standard number 22, you can create a deferred tax asset here. You can create. Understood? Why? Because you are paying the tax now higher, which will be reducing your tax liability in the future. That means you have a asset here. Clear? Next one. It results in lower accounting income as per the books of accounts of the company as compared with taxable income under income tax law. During the course of audit, he notices that the cost of CDs along with the software cost is treated as intangible asset by the company. So as I've told, company has invested huge amount of money in the software, and that software cost along with the CD cost, everything has been capitalized as an intangible asset. Do you think it is acceptable? 100% acceptable. Why? Because clearly they have given one line specifically here. So what is the line they are giving? The cost of CDs without software is nominal. That means CD is not at all a significant portion. CD is just a complementary thing for the software. So that means this completely CD along with software, that is completely a package of the intangible asset. So here also what the company has done, the company has capitalized the cost of CDs along with the software cost. Everything has been treated as an intangible asset. Yes, they have to do it. Why? Because CD is not a separate item. CD is an integral part of the software only. So that's why entire cost of CDs along with the software, they have to capitalize it as an intangible asset. It is also part of his responsibility to verify PPE register in accordance with the audit program. So as per the audit program, he is even required to verify the PPE register, that engagement team member. On pursuing the details in PPE register, he finds that some computers have moved from one center to another center to meet business requirements. So he came to know that, so whatever computers are there, since your client company is having the centers, is having a place of business all over major cities of India, so sometimes computers are moved from here to there. Further, many computers were disposed or scrapped in earlier years. So many of the computers are also scrapped. But the problem is, however, proper details in relation to movement and disposal or scrapping have not been entered in the PPE register. So whatever movement of the computers have taken place, whatever scrapping of the computers have taken place, they were nowhere recorded in the PPE register. That means inventory records are not properly maintained. Sorry, not inventory records, PPE records are not properly maintained when these items were physically verified by the management. But as we know, management is required to do physical verification, right? So when management has done the physical verification, then what happened? When these items were physically verified by the management during the year, it has resulted in material discrepancies. Obviously, see, when you did not update the PPE records, then obviously whenever physical verification happens, whatever assets they will be able to find physically and whatever data which will be there in the PPE records, they will not match. So management did the physical verification and they found some discrepancies, and the management has properly dealt with such discrepancies in the books of accounts. Whatever differences they have found out on verifying the books of accounts, all the differences have been properly accounted in the books of accounts. Do you think, is there any reporting requirement regarding this point? Regarding PPE register, regarding physical verification of PPE by the management and the finding of the discrepancies, whether they have been properly dealt with in the books of accounts, do you think something is striking your mind? Some reporting requirement is there relating to this matter? Yes, 100% we have. Which reporting requirement we have? Under CARO. If you remember, under CARO 2020, the first matter which is required to be reported is regarding PPE. So in that they specifically say whether the management has done the physical verification of their PPE at reasonable intervals, that is once in every 3 years, and on doing such physical verification, whether any discrepancy have been found out. Yes, if discrepancy has been found out, whether they have been properly dealt with in the books of accounts or not. This point is there? No. Yes. So there is a discrepancy. They have properly adjusted in the books of accounts, but still this matter is required to be reported by the auditor in CARO 2020. Yes or no? Right. So these are all the facts of the case. So a suggestion from my side. See, whenever you are reading any case scenario based question, just don't be in a hurry. You should never read the case scenario based questions in a hurry, especially MCQs. At least twice you have to read. And my humble suggestion for you all is, whenever you are reading this kind of lengthy case scenarios, whatever facts you feel it as important, like whenever they are talking about amounts, whenever they are talking about some observations relating to this, whenever they are talking about some accounting treatments, so those points you better make a summary somewhere. Those points you better try to make a summary somewhere, or take a pencil and try to highlight it in the question itself. Why? Because in the case scenarios, whenever they are talking about accounting treatment, then whenever they are talking about auditors observations, whenever they are giving certain amounts, certain figures they are giving, or whenever they are talking about auditors opinion related matters, that is where most of the questions from the case scenarios will be tested. So my suggestion will be, whenever you are reading the case scenario, either take a pencil, highlight the important things, highlight the accounting related matters they have given, highlight the figures they have given, highlight the auditors observations they have given, and also highlight opinion related matters. Or else what you can do is, you can write a summary somewhere. You can develop a summary of that, all the important facts you have to write it at one place. Why? Because that will save your time. Why that will save your time is, for example, when you read the questions now, so if you don't make a note or if you don't highlight it, what will happen is, in order to know what this question is talking about, you have to read the entire case scenario. That is double times reading the question. So it is going to unnecessarily waste your time. So my humble suggestion will be read the case scenario based question, whatever facts you feel it as important, make a summary of that or highlight it somewhere in the question, so that when you are reading the question, immediately it will strike your mind. You will not waste your time searching the entire question to go through that facts again. So this is how you can save the time, and this is how you can avoid the mistakes also. Okay, so now let us, on the basis of the above facts, let us try to look at the questions what they are asking. Considering description provided in the case scenario regarding accounting income as per the books of accounts and taxable income under income tax law, choose appropriate responsibility of the Dhanush. See here, they are not once again repeating the scenario. If you pay close attention what they are telling, you have read something about the accounting income taxable in the question. Based on that fact, they are asking you to choose a correct option. That means if you see here, they did not say what is the thing that they have given in the question once again, but they are just telling as whatever you have read in the question. On the basis of that, what is your conclusion? So what we have read in the question, accounting income, in the accounting records we have charged more amount of depreciation, so accounting profit was lower. Whereas for tax purposes, depreciation was less. Depreciation is less when compared with the depreciation as per books of accounts. So my tax income has become higher. So I will be paying more tax liability. The company will be paying more tax liability, and there is a time gap here. So what the company can do is they can recognize a deferred tax asset as per AS 22. Yes or no? So that is what the question they are asking. Considering the description provided in the case scenario regarding accounting income as per the books of accounts and taxable income under income tax law, choose the appropriate responsibility of the Dhanush. Let us see what is the responsibility. To verify that there is a deferred tax liability likely created in the financial statements as per AS 22. No, this is not a case of deferred tax liability. This is a case of deferred tax asset. Why deferred tax asset? Why? Because you are paying more tax. You are paying more. And in future, your tax liability will get reduced. When you have paid more, that is an asset. No. So no, right? So it is not a deferred tax liability, it is a deferred tax asset. So first option is wrong. To verify deferred tax asset likely created in the financial statements in accordance with AS 22. Yes, you have to verify whether there is a deferred tax asset which is likely to be created as per the provisions of AS 22. Yes, this looks a correct option. Next, to verify deferred tax asset likely created in the financial statements in accordance with AS 29. AS 29 is not the standard which is talking about deferred tax, it is talking about provisions and other things, whereas AS 22 is the standard which is talking about deferred tax asset. Okay, so AS 22 will become applicable here. So correct option will be option number B. And to verify deferred tax liability likely created in the financial statements in accordance with AS 29. When you read the deferred tax liability, that itself is a wrong option. So correct option is going to be to verify deferred tax asset likely created in financial statements in accordance with AS 22. Clear everybody? Understood? Now next question. Keeping in view description provided in the case scenario, which of the following statement is likely to be correct regarding accounting treatment of cost of CDs and software acquired by the company to run the test? So if you pay close attention, previously as we have read in the case scenario, they told that what the management has done, the CD cost along with the software cost, everything they have capitalized it as an intangible asset. Do you think it is correct? Yes. Why? Because CD cost is negligible. That CD will have value only with the software. So CD is just a complementary thing for the software. So entire cost of the CDs along with the software, everything should be capitalized as an intangible asset. That's what even the management has also done. So now regarding that thing, they are asking some questions. Let us have a look at it. The company's accounting treatment of treating cost of CDs with the software cost as intangible asset is not proper. Who told it is not proper? It is proper only. And one more justification they are telling, it should have been treated. It should have treated such cost as a revenue expenditure. No, it has to be treated as capital expenditure. So this option is incorrect. The company's accounting treatment of treating cost of CDs along with the softwares as intangible assets is proper. Yes, this is correct. Let us have a look at the other options also. The company's accounting treatment of treating cost of CDs with software cost as intangible assets is not proper. No, it is correct only. So we need not pay any attention. But anyhow, let us read the other next thing also. It should have treated cost of CDs as PPE item and software cost as intangible. No, CD is not a separate asset. CD is just a complementary thing for the software. So that's why entire thing should be treated as a intangible asset. The company's accounting treatment of treating cost of CDs with software cost as intangible assets, it's not proper. It should have treated cost of CDs as PPE item and software cost as revenue expenditure. No, it is also incorrect. So what is the correct option? Option B is the correct option. Whatever company's accounting treatment they have done, treating the cost of CD along with the accounting software, along with that software as a intangible asset, that is a correct and proper accounting treatment. So correct option is option B. Next one. As regards discrepancies noticed in the computer system on physical verification by the management as described in the case scenario, which of the following statements is most appropriate? So they told something about the physical verification of the PP, So management has done the physical verification, but the movement of the computers and disposal of the computers were not reflected in the PP records. Because of that, discrepancies are there. On doing physical verification, these discrepancies are noticed, and these discrepancies are properly adjusted in the financial statements on the books of accounts. So regarding that scenario, they're asking us to choose some correct statements. Let us see. The management has properly dealt with such discrepancies. Yes, on finding that differences, they have properly adjusted in the books of accounts. Okay. However, Dhanush should bring it to the highlight of engagement partner, as it may result in modification of auditor's opinion. No. See, definitely management has done the management has properly discrepancies, they have properly adjusted in the books of accounts. Yes, that is correct only. The management has properly dealt with discrepancies. However, Dhanush, one of the engagement team member, he should bring it to the notice of the engagement partner. Yes, he has to bring it to the notice of the engagement partner. Not because it will result in modification of auditor's opinion. See, when it will result in modification of auditor's opinion, if the management found discrepancies and if they are not properly adjusting it in the books of accounts, then it needs a modification of opinion. That's why he has to bring it to the notice of the engagement partner. But in this case, the management has properly dealt with in the books of accounts. They have done all the proper adjustments. This will not give a need for modifying the opinion. Okay, so Dhanush should bring it to the light of engagement partner. Yes, this is correct. But not because that will require modification of opinion. For that purpose, he will not bring it to the engagement partner's attention. Okay, this statement is half true, but they're asking us to choose the most appropriate. This statement is half true only. So the management has properly dealt with such discrepancies. Yes. However, Dhanush should bring it to the light of the engagement partner. Yes, he has to bring it to the engagement partner's attention, as it may result in modification. He has to definitely bring it to the engagement partner's attention, but not because of need for modifying, but there is a need for reporting that information in the CARO. That's why he has to bring it to the engagement partner's attention. Engagement team member Mr. Dhanush, he has to bring this discrepancies and proper adjustment of it in the books of accounts to the engagement partner. He has to bring it. I don't deny that. But the reason why he has to bring it to the engagement partner's attention is so that it requires a reporting under Companies Act, that is CARO 2, under CARO 2020. This matter is required to be reported. That's why you have to bring it to the engagement partner's attention. So if you read the next statement, the management has properly dealt with such discrepancies. However, Dhanush should bring it to the light of engagement partner, as it entails specific reporting requirements for auditor under Companies Act 2013. Nothing but under CARO 2020, there is a reporting requirement. In order to fulfill that reporting requirements, engagement team member has to bring it to the attention of the engagement partner. Yes, this is correct. See, in both the cases, what engagement team member has to do, that is correct only, but underlying reason behind that is different. Clear? So B is the correct option, but anyhow, let us have a look at the other options also. The management has properly dealt with such discrepancies. Therefore, Dhanush should not do anything further. They are telling Dhanush need not do anything. No, he is having a responsibility. Management has dealt with it properly, but he has to still bring it to the engagement partner's attention so that he can report that in the CARO. So, but they are telling Dhanush should not do anything further. This is wrong actually. The management has properly dealt with such discrepancies. However, Dhanush should bring it to the light of the engagement partner, as it is in the nature of the misstatement. No, it is not it is not in the nature of misstatement. When it will be a misstatement, when the management has not properly adjusted that discrepancy in the books of accounts, then it becomes a misstatement. But in the case scenario, they have clearly told management has properly dealt with such discrepancies in the books of accounts, so it will not result in a material misstatement. So correct option will be option B again. Next one. Which of the following statement meets requirements of law in respect of revenue from operations of the company? So as you could see here, they have given information regarding revenue. So they told total revenue is 50 crores. How they have to disclose this revenue as per the schedule 3? So in their statement of P&L, they will say total revenue from operations. How much amount they will show? On the face of the P&L, they will show the revenue as 50 crore rupees. Below that, they will show other income as income from investments 0.10 crore, that is 10 lakh rupees. They will show it separately, and in the notes to accounts, this revenue from operations 50 crores whatever is there, they will mention the note number here. They will go to the respective note. In that note number, they will divide that revenue. They will give a breakup. Revenue in the form of fees collected from the students 45, revenue from sale of the books 5, totally 50. But on the face of the P&L, you will find revenue from operations total of 50 crore rupees. Other income, interest income will be shown as other income 0.1 crore. But the breakup of this 40 crores, but the breakup of this 50 crores will be given separately in the notes to accounts. That is what the correct presentation as per schedule 3. Let us see. Revenue from operations of 50 crores should be shown in the statement of P&L. Yes, this is correct only. So revenue from operations, whatever is that you have to show it as 50 crores in the statement of P&L. Yes. Revenue from operations of 50.10 crore. No, 0.10 crore. That is the 10 lakh rupees of interest income is not revenue from operations. Revenue from operations means what? Whatever revenue that you are generating from your main business. Here 50 crores was only from main business. 0.10 lakh, 0.10 crore. That is 10 lakhs is in the form of other income, investment income. So that's why this is not correct. Revenue from operations should be shown as 50.1. No, this is incorrect. Revenue from operations of 50.10 crore. This is obviously wrong. The moment you read revenue from operations of 50.1, that is wrong. Revenue from operations of 50 crores should be shown in the statement of P&L. However, revenue from sale of books and fees charged from students should be disclosed separately in the notes. Yes, this is correct. See, option A is also correct only. They are telling revenue from operations of 50 crore would be shown in the statement of P&L. That is also correct only. But here it looks even more sensible. What looks more reasonable answer, A is also correct. But D is even more correct. No. Revenue from operations of 50 crores should be shown in the statement of P&L. But that breakup of 50 into 45 and 5, that has to be shown separately in notes to accounts. So A is correct. A is also correct. D is also correct. But which is most correct answer? The most correct answer will be option number D. So no. Comparatively, which one is giving a perfect answer? A is also correct. I don't deny A is wrong. A is also perfect answer only. A is also correct answer only. But which is most correct answer? Most correct answer will be option number D. Clear? Next one. One more question is there from this case scenario. The company has taken useful life of desktops to be 3 years. Such a requirement is, so the company has taken useful life of desktop to be 3 years. Where do you think useful life has been given? Useful life of the assets has been given under Companies Act only. Under which schedule? Schedule 2 of the Companies Act talks about depreciation rates and years of the useful life of the assets. So, and even Companies Act says that generally in the schedule 2 they have given useful life of assets. You can choose that, you can take that useful life. But if at all, if you have a valid reason that the useful life, depending upon the nature of your client company, depending upon the nature of the operations, if you feel that some other useful life will be more appropriate, even you can choose that other useful life also. In schedule 2 they have given useful life of the asset, but there is no mandatory requirement that you have to follow that only. If you feel that the asset which you are using, depending on your client's business, depending on your business, depending on your nature of operations, if some other useful life will be more appropriate, you are free to choose that other useful life as well. So let us see the options now. So where that useful lives are mentioned, they are telling option number A, prescribed under schedule 3. No, schedule 3 talks about the financial statement, not the depreciation rates. So this is incorrect. Next one. It is not prescribed under Companies Act. It depends upon manufacturing specification of desktops. No, it is given in Companies Act 2013. In the Companies Act, for every category of assets, they have given the useful life. Prescribed under Schedule 2 of the Companies Act 2013. However, a company can choose useful life different from what is prescribed under Schedule 2 also. Generally, useful lives are given under Schedule 2. But in case if the company wants to choose some alternative useful life, yes, they are having that freedom also. And one more thing, this is the correct option. So it is not prescribed under Companies Act 2013. It needs to be arrived at mandatorily by the management expert. No, it has been given under Companies Act. So what is the correct option? Option number C is going to be the correct option. Everybody able to understand? So we are done with one case scenario. This is how we need to read the questions, interpret the questions, and read the answers, interpret the answers, and then only you have to answer it. So my humble request is, whenever you are reading this MCQs, read the MCQ twice, read the question twice, read the option twice. Minimum, I am telling, minimum question and answer twice you have to read, then only have to choose the answer. So don't just answer it on a first reading itself. Even you feel comfortable after reading the question and options, even in the first reading you feel more comfortable, but still don't mark it. Read the questions and options minimum twice, then only mark the answer. Clear, everybody? Able to understand till here? So with this we are done with case scenario number 1. So now let us talk about case scenario number 2. So we are done with case scenario number 1, which contains 5 questions. Now let us talk about case scenario number 2. So we'll carefully go through the facts which are given in the case study. CDA Limited, a company dealing in FMCG goods, is having 50 branches in India. Okay. SKC and Associates, referred to as company's auditor, are appointed as statutory auditors of the company for the financial year 2023-24. So the company, the client name is CDA Limited. They have appointed an auditor, SKC and Associates, and they are appointed as statutory auditor for the financial year 2023-24. Further, the company has also appointed Mr. D as branch auditor for 5 of its branches. So as I've told in the first point itself, the company is having all over 50 branches, and for 5 branches specifically, they have appointed one separate person, Mr. D, as a branch auditor, and SKC and associates will become a principal auditor. So basically what will happen, if you remember the concept of the branch audit from the audit reporting chapter. So basically, when generally a company is appointing the principal auditor, when company is appointing a separate auditor for the branches, there will be one principal auditor, one branch auditor will be there. Now this person, Mr. D, who is exclusively appointed to conduct the audit of the accounts of the branches, this person will be called as branch auditor. Now this person, Mr. D, will conduct the audit of the 5 branches for which he was appointed. He will prepare the audit report. That audit report will be given to the principal auditor. Now principal auditor, using his own work and also using the audit report of the Mr. D, he will prepare an audit report on the entire company. That audit report of the principal auditor will be circulated to the members. This is what the mechanism of audit whenever branch auditor is appointed. So branch auditor will complete the work of audit of branches. He will have his findings. He will prepare the audit report. That branch auditor's report will not be circulated to the shareholders. That branch audit report will be given to the principal auditor, and the principal auditor is going to use his own work. He is going to make use of the principal auditor's work, and also he is going to make use of the branch auditor's report. And finally, he will form an opinion on the entire company, and that audit report will be generally circulated to shareholders. Okay, so what is the key takeaway from this paragraph? There is one principal auditor, there is a branch auditor. Very good. That is the only key takeaway from this. Since Mr. D is conducting audit of only 5 branches of the company, he has not arrived at materiality level in respect of the audited branches. So here they're talking about now branch audit related matters. See, Mr. D is conducting audit of 5 of the branches. He felt that since he is only a branch auditor, he did not determine materiality level at each of these branches. Do you think it is correct? No. So the branch auditor, whenever he is conducting audit of the branches which is allocated to him with respect to each and every branch, what is the materiality level that he has to decide? So what is the materiality level with respect to his audit, with respect to the branches for which he was allocated? What is the risk of material misstatement? So all that things they have to, all that materiality determination he has to do. So the same thing they are telling. But what here happened, what in this case has happened is, this branch auditor did not decide the materiality level of the branches for which he is doing the audit. And on the same lines, identification and assessment of risk of material misstatement has also not been performed. So this branch auditor, they are telling 2 things. Number 1, branch auditor did not perform risk assessment procedures. He did not identify risk of material misstatement. He did not even determine the materiality levels also. Do you think it is correct? No. The branch auditor should should perform risk assessment procedures with respect to the branches for which he is appointed, determine what is risk of material misstatement, and at the same time he also has to determine the materiality level for the branches for which he has been appointed as an auditor. He did not do both the steps. He violated 2 things. Next, he is of the view that determination of materiality and identifying and assessing risk of material misstatement is done for financial statements of the company as a whole. So why he is not doing the risk assessment procedures and why he is not determining materiality levels for the branches is, he is of the opinion that materiality should be decided for the entire financial statements as a whole, and risk of material misstatement should be done for the entire company, not for the branches. That is what his view is. Do you think it is correct? No. See, whatever mechanism which is applicable for overall entities audit, the same mechanism will be even applicable for the branch audits also. So it should not be done only for the company as a whole. It should be even done separately for the branches also. So what is the opinion of the branch auditor correct here? No, the branch auditor's view is not correct. He has mainly performed substantive audit procedures in respect of financial statements of audited branches, like verification of PPE items, inventories, trade receivables, cash, bank balances, trade payables at audited branches, and maintain documentation of the same. So they are telling that he did not perform risk assessment procedures. Then what he did, sir? Mainly he performed substantive audit procedures in the few areas of the financial statements. But that is not actually correct. He should have performed risk assessment procedures also. Next one. During the course of audit at 2 branches dealing in the same kind of goods, Mr. D has performed analytical procedures relating to inventories. So when it comes to, he has been allocated 5 branches. Out of that 5 branches, there are 2 branches which are dealing in same kind of goods. He performed some analytical procedures. He studied some relationship with regard to the inventory. He calculated some ratios and did the comparison. That results they are giving it to you. He has arrived at and compared inventory turnover ratio, cost of goods sold divided by average inventory. This is a formula. He calculated inventory turnover ratio over a period of years of 2 branches. The results of the analytical procedures are summarized in table below. So he calculated a ratio, inventory turnover ratio he has calculated over a period of years. For 3 years, he calculated inventory turnover ratio of branch 1 and inventory turnover ratio of branch 2. So what do you understand by inventory turnover ratio? What do you understand by inventory turnover ratio? See, what do you mean by inventory turnover ratio is getting high? Inventory turnover ratio is a bigger number, which means what? Inventory turnover ratio is bigger means you are selling the inventory more frequently. You are selling the inventory, you are selling the goods more frequently. That's why you are replacing the stock more frequently. Yes or no? So inventory turnover means how fast your inventory is moving. So in case if the inventory is moving very quickly, that means what? My business is good, my sales are growing. On the other hand, if my inventory turnover ratio is falling, that means what? I am selling my inventory less number of times. That means what? My sales are actually low. Able to understand? So that is what the interpretation of inventory turnover ratio, which you might have done in the ratio analysis chapter of your financial management. So higher inventory ratio is good or bad? Higher inventory ratio is good, which means what? You are able to sell your inventory more number of times. You are able to sell your stock more number of times. That means your sales are increasing. On the other hand, if the inventory turnover ratio is low, what does that mean? That means you are not able to sell your stock more number of times. You are not replacing the stock more number of times means that means you are not able to sell your stock more frequently. That means your sales are less actually. So they have given some analytics here. If you see here, inventory turnover ratio of branch 1, if you see over the period of years 15, 14, 12, inventory turnover ratio is coming down over the span of 3 years. If you observe, in year 21, 22 it was 15, in year 22, 23 it was 14, in year 23, 24 it was 12. So if you observe over a period of time, the inventory turnover ratio is falling. That means what? Company sales are gradually reducing. The company is unable to sell more frequently their stock. They are not replacing the stock as frequently as they can. That means if the inventory turnover ratio is falling, might be the sales are not good. The inventory is not moving fastly. Next one, inventory turnover ratio of branch 2. If you observe that is increasing. 4, 6 and 10. Inventory turnover ratio of branch 2 is increasing. That means what? The company is replacing their stock more number of times. That means what? They're able to sell their stock very quickly. Is it good or bad? That is actually good. If inventory turnover ratio is high, that is good. So if you do comparison between branch 1 over a period of time, if you observe over a period of time 15, 14, 12, inventory turnover ratio is decreasing. That means the company's inventory, they are not able to sell the inventory very frequently. So their inventory turnover ratio is decreasing, which is actually bad sign. On the other hand, if you pay close attention to branch number 2, over a period of time it is increasing, which is actually a good sign. And if you do comparison between branch 1 and branch 2, if you compare the figures, for which branch figures are higher? When we do a comparative study between branch 1 and branch 2, for branch 1 the figures are higher. For branch 1 the figures are higher. That means the turnover ratio, the turnover is very good for the inventories where the inventory is very quickly moving. The inventory is very quickly moving when it comes to branch 1. So when you do a comparative study between branch 1 and branch 2, that means if you are doing inter-branch comparison, branch 1 is performing good. But over a period of time, if you do intra-branch comparison, for example, if you are comparing only branch 1 over a period of time, it is actually bad. If you are comparing only branch 2 over a period of time, it is actually doing good. But when we do a comparative study between branch 1 and branch 2, which one is good performing? Branch 1 is good performing. Why? Because it has a higher inventory turnover ratio. So now if we go further, the company's auditor has also decided to use the work of Mr. D with respect to financial information of 5 branches included in the financial information of the company. So as I have told, branch auditor Mr. D will submit his branch audit report to the principal auditor. What principal auditor do? He will use the work of the branch auditor and he will form an opinion on the entire company. The same thing they are telling. The company auditor, that is the principal auditor, has also decided to use the work of Mr. D with respect to financial information of 5 branches included in the financial information of the company. During the course of the audit, company's auditor has advised Mr. D by way of email certain significant accounting, auditing and reporting requirements, and he has asked him to provide representations as to compliance with them. This is required as per SA 600. SA 600 has given the permission to the principal auditor. If you want to make sure that the branch auditor has done the work properly or not, you can communicate with him what are the significant accounting, auditing and disclosure requirements which has to be followed by the branch auditor, and even you can get a written confirmation from the branch auditor that he will also comply with all that accounting, disclosure and reporting requirements. That power has been given to the auditor under SA 600. If you remember the discussion which we had in the branch audit concept of the audit reporting chapter, there we have specifically told. So as a principal auditor, you can communicate with the branch auditor what are the significant accounting, auditing and reporting requirements, and even as a principal auditor, you can request a branch auditor to give a written confirmation that he will comply with them, and the branch auditor has to do it. Irritated and surprised, Mr. D is of the view that such an email is beyond the rights of the company auditor. So principal auditor is asking the branch auditor to give a confirmation whether he is complying with all significant accounting, auditing and reporting requirements or not. When this question was asked, the branch auditor got irritated and is telling that no, this person is not having rights, he's doing extras, he's going beyond his rights. That's what the branch auditor is feeling. You tell me, is the company auditor going beyond his rights? No, it is well within his rights. Why? Because SA 600 has given that specific power to the principal auditor that he can request a written representation from the branch auditor that he will comply with significant accounting, auditing and reporting requirements. So that's why, yes, Here the branch auditor's view is wrong. Principal auditor is well within his power to ask the branch auditor to give the written confirmation as to compliance with auditing and accounting and reporting requirements. Now, based on the above facts, let us have a look at the questions, what questions they are asking. So first question, as regards audit of branch of CDL Limited as referred to in the case scenario is concerned, which of the following statements is most appropriate? So they have given some questions from the above case scenario. They are giving us few statements. Let us try to find out which one is the most appropriate one. The accounts of a branch shall be audited either by the company's auditor or by any other person qualified for appointment as an auditor of the company and appointed as such under section 139 of the Companies Act. Yes, as per the Companies Act, either the branch audit can be done by the company's auditor, principal auditor himself can do the branch audit, or any other person who is duly qualified to act as a company auditor. The same person also can be separately appointed as a branch auditor. Anybody can do it. There is no mandatory requirement that Companies Act is telling, so branch audit also must be done by the company auditor. Did they say that? No, they said either the principal auditor himself can do it, or any other person who is qualified to act as auditor of a company can also be appointed as auditor of the branches. Yes, that permission has been given. In case branch accounts are audited by a person other than company's auditor, branch audit report is sent by branch auditor to company's auditor 100%. Yes, this statement looks correct. The accounts of a branch can be audited by the company auditor himself or by any other person who is duly qualified to act as a company auditor. And in case if the accounts of the branch are audited by separate person, the branch auditor shall send his audit report to the principal auditor. Yes, this is most appropriate statement. This is the appropriate statement, but let us read the other options also. The accounts of a branch shall only be audited by any other person qualified for appointment as an auditor. They are telling that the accounts of the branch shall only be audited by some other person other than the company auditor, other than the principal auditor. Does the Companies Act say the branch should be audited separately? No. It has given the choice to the company itself. It's your choice. Either the principal auditor himself can do it or any other person who is duly qualified to act as the auditor of a company can do it. But here in this option they are telling it shall be only audited by any other person. No, principal auditor also can do it. So by reading this line only you should decide that this statement is false. The accounts of a branch shall only be audited by any other person qualified for appointment as an auditor. See, this is also wrong. They are telling any other person only should do the audit of branch audit. No, the principal auditor himself also can do it. This is also wrong. The accounts of a branch shall be audited either by the company's auditor or by any other person qualified for appointment as an auditor of the company, etc., etc. In case branch accounts are audited by a person other than company's auditor, branch audit report is sent by the branch auditor to the members of the company. 100% wrong. In case if the accounts of the branch are audited by separate branch auditor will prepare the audit report. That report will be given to the principal auditor. Principal auditor will form the opinion on the entire company. That report will be given to the shareholders. Branch audit report will not be given to the shareholders. Clear? So that's why option D is also wrong. Which is the correct option? Option A is the correct option. So you should have patience when you are reading this lengthy options. You have to pay attention to the minute details. Next one. After reading methodology for carrying out the branch audits by Mr. D, which of the following statements is likely to be more appropriate? See, they told what approach Mr. D has followed while conducting branch audit. What approach he followed? He did not perform risk assessment procedures. He did not perform materiality levels. Do you think it is correct? No. So regarding that, they are giving a few statements. Let us see what they are telling. Separate determination of materiality and identifying and assessing risk of material misstatement is not required. Who said it is not required? Standards are telling it is required. So this option is wrong actually. In the option they are telling separate determination of materiality and identifying risk of material misstatement is not required for the branches. No, it is required for the branches. Branch auditor has to do it separately. So this option is wrong. Separate determination of materiality and identifying and assessing the risk of material misstatement is required in respect of each of the branches. However, documentation of this matters is not required. Definitely wrong. 100% wrong. You have to do materiality. You have to determine materiality. You have to perform risk assessment procedures regarding the branches. And how you have decided materiality, what is the outcome of the risk assessment procedures, that even needs to be documented by the branch auditor. So they are telling these steps are required. Materiality and risk assessment procedures are required. But they are telling documentation is not required. No, documentation is also required. This option is also wrong. Next one. Separate determination of materiality and identifying risk of material misstatement is required along with documentation thereof in respect of each of the branches. Now they are telling materiality is also required, risk assessment procedures is also required, and documentation of these matters is also required. He is required to perform substantive audit procedures as described in case scenario in respect of auditee branches and also maintain documentation of the same. Yes. So he has to determine materiality, he has to perform risk assessment procedures, he has to perform substantive audit procedures, and regarding that documentation is also required to be maintained. Yes, this option sounds good. Next one. Identifying and assessing risk of material misstatement is required along with documentation in respect of each of branches. Okay. However, materiality is required to be read for financial statements as a whole. Is not. They are telling in this option what they are telling is risk assessment procedures are required, but they are telling materiality is required only for financial statements as a whole. Materiality not required for branches. Do you think it is correct? No, both are required. Risk assessment procedures are also required. Materiality is also required. So that's why this option is also wrong. So if you read this once again carefully, identifying and assessing risk of material misstatement is required along with documentation in respect of each of the branches. However, materiality is required to be arrived at for financial statements of the company as a whole. That telling materiality is to be decided only for the company as a whole. Materiality is not required for the branches. That is what the implied sentence here. Do you think materiality determination is not required for the branches? No, obviously wrong. Materiality determination is required even for branches as well. So this option is also wrong. So what will be the correct option? Option C will be the correct option. Next one. Choose a correct statement regarding results of analytical procedures performed by Mr. D summarized in table 1. So they have performed analytical procedures now. Regarding this analytical procedures, they are asking us some observations. Let us choose what is the correct one. During the year 2023-24, inventories of branch 1 have moved faster in comparison to branch 2. Do you agree with that? In the year 2023-24, when you calculated inventory turnover ratio of both the branches, inventory turnover ratio of branch 1 is higher inventory when compared with the inventory turnover ratio of branch 2. So you tell me where the inventory is moving fastly. Inventory is moving fastly in branch 1. Is that statement true? Yes, that is true. 100% true. So since inventory turnover ratio of branch 1 is higher, so that's why inventory of branch 1 has moved faster in comparison to branch 2. So this is correct. Next one. During the year 2023-24, inventories of branch 2 have moved faster. No, branch 1 has moved faster than branch 2. Next, comparison of inventory turnover ratio of branch 2 over a period of years may indicate that branch sales have likely been weak with higher inventory holdings in 2023-24 as compared to previous year. See, now they are talking about only branch 2. So if you pay close attention, if we compare only branch 2 over a period of time, what happened? Over a period of time, inventory turnover ratio of the branch 2 has improved. From 4, it has gone to 10. Which means what? Inventory is moving very fastly. That means what has happened? Sales have increased. Sales have increased. But what in the option they are telling? In the option they are telling that comparison of inventory turnover ratio of branch 2 over a period of years may indicate that branch sales have been likely weak. No, branch sales are strong. Why? Because inventory has moved very quickly over a period of time. Inventory turnover ratio has increased. That means sales are strong here, not weak. So this option is also wrong. Option D. Comparison of inventory turnover ratio of branch 1 over a period of years may indicate that branch sales have likely been strong with lower inventory holdings in financial year 23-24. Now they are talking about branch 1. See, when you pay attention to the branch 1 over a period of time, inventory turnover ratio has fallen. That means inventory is moving out slowly. That means sales would have been weak when you compare branch 1 over a period of time. But in the option what they have told, over a period of time the sales of the company have been strong. No, it indicates that the sales have been weak. Why? Because inventory turnover ratio is falling. So both these options are wrong. So which was the correct option? When we do the comparison, option A will be the correct option. So which says that branch 1 stock has moved faster than when compared with the branch 2 stock. Clear? Able to understand everybody? See, this is what a multidisciplinary question. You can say this question is a multidisciplinary question. Why? Because here this question they are asking linking the concept of audit along with your financial management. In that ratio analysis chapter, whatever skills you require for analyzing the ratios, interpretation of the ratios, that both has been combined and tested. So no. And even if you look at the case scenario number also, there is one multidisciplinary case scenario which is linking with the accounting standards and auditing related matters. So these kind of questions also you can expect. You have to be cautious, right? So looking at the pattern of the questions which they are asking, yes, we can expect some kind of multidisciplinary questions where the questions will be tested linking with the other subjects of our curriculum as well. So we have to be a bit careful. Next one, 2.4, one more question. Considering contents of the email sent by company's auditor to Mr. D, which of the following statements is likely to be in accordance with the standards on audit? So he has sent a mail. No, in the case scenario, they told the principal auditor sent him a mail asking him telling him significant accounting, auditing and reporting requirements, and also in the mail he has asked the branch auditor to give a confirmation that he will comply with them. So this is what the principal auditor sent an email to the branch auditor. Regarding that, some options they are giving, we have to choose a correct one. Number 1, company's auditor can advise Mr. D regarding certain significant accounting, auditing and reporting requirements and ask him to provide representation as to compliance with them. Can he do it? Yes. The principal auditor can communicate with the branch auditor what are significant accounting, auditing and reporting requirements and also ask the branch auditor to give a written statement that he will comply with them. That power is given to the principal auditor as per SA 600. He can do it. Next one. Company's auditor can advise Mr. D certain significant accounting, auditing, and reporting requirements. However, asking him to provide representation as to compliance with them is breach of duty. No, it is well within the power. He can even ask the branch auditor to give a written confirmation that he will comply with them. Next one. Company's auditor cannot advise Mr. D certain significant accounting, auditing, and reporting requirements. It is a breach of. They are telling it he cannot even advise. No, he can advise and even ask the confirmation also. This option is also wrong. Company's auditor can advise Mr. D regarding certain significant accounting, auditing, and reporting requirements only when Mr. D makes such a request. No, not the branch or not at the branch auditor's request. If the principal auditor want, he can get it. He need not wait for the request of the branch auditor. So this is also incorrect. So what is the correct option? Correct option is option A, which says the company's auditor can advise the branch auditor regarding certain significant accounting, auditing, and reporting requirements, and also he can ask him the representation as to compliance with them. So this power is given to the principal auditor as per SA 600. So this option is the correct option. So we have seen case scenario number 2 also, but anyhow, let us have a cross verification with the key which they have given. So first option is option A. Yes, that is correct. Then we have second case, second option is C. Yes, that is also correct. Now we have option A. Third one is option A. Yes, that is also correct. Fourth one is also option A, that is also correct. Okay, fine. So we are done with 2 case scenarios. Now we'll proceed ahead with case scenario number 3. So let us have a look at now case scenario number 3. So if we start reading it, CAB is conducting statutory audit of branch of a nationalized bank. Saurabh, a CS student, is also part of the engagement team conducting statutory branch audit. The field of bank branch audit is new to him and he is following instructions as instructed to him by the engagement partner. The engagement partner has asked him to prepare a summary of non-funded credit facilities outstanding as on the balance sheet date. The following information is appearing in branch's CBS data or record. CBS means nothing but core banking software as on 31st of March 2023. So they are telling below they have given different kind of facilities which are offered by the bank. From that they are asking, but from that the engagement partner has asked his engagement team member to prepare a summary of non-funded credit facilities. So if you remember, we have read it in the audit of banks that facilities, the credit facilities, whatever offered by the bank, they can fall under 2 categories. One is funded credit facilities, non-funded advances also we will say. So what are funded facilities? Those facilities which are offered by the bank which involve actual outflow of the funds. Like for example, if you go to the bank, get a housing loan. If you get a housing loan from the bank, do you think bank will actually give that money to you? Yes. Housing loans involve actual outflow of the funds. Or you take working capital loans. It also involves actual outflow of funds from the bank. But the bank will not always give those credit facilities which involve outflow of the funds. Some facilities will be there which are non-funded, which will not involve any outflow of the funds. Like for example, if you pay close attention, bank guarantees. Sometimes bank will act as a guarantor. When the bank stood as a guarantor, it will not give you any funds. It will not involve any actual outflow of funds. That is what non-funded facility. Similarly, letter of credits. Letter of credit is also something bank is acting as a guarantor. So there also it will not involve actual outflow of funds. So like that, whatever credit facilities which are offered by the bank, they will fall under 2 broad categories. One is funded advances, other one is non-funded advances. So from the given below list, the engagement partner is asking his engagement team members to prepare a summary of non-funded credit facilities. Let us see out of the below mentioned credit facilities which are funded, which are not funded. So number 1, agricultural term loans, 15 crores. So when the bank is giving agricultural term loans, will they give money to the farmers? Yes, it involves actual outflow of funds. So it is a what? Funded advance. Staff housing loan. To the staff they are giving housing loans. Housing loans also involve actual outflow of the funds. Yes, this is also a funded advance. Staff vehicle loans. Vehicle loans also they will give the money. No, that is also a funded advance. Housing loans, general public, that also involve outflow of funds. That is also a funded advance. Letters of credit issued, the bank is giving a letters of credit. That is a non-funded advance. When the bank is giving letter of credit, that will not involve any outflow of the funds. So letter of credit issued is a non-funded advance. Education loans, yes, it is a funded advance. Guarantees issued, fully secured by 100% margin. The bank is acting as a guarantor. Guarantees also does not involve any outflow of funds. So it is also a non-funded advance. Bills purchased and discounted. That is also a funded advance. That is a credit facility. That is a funded advance. Bills for collection. Bills for collection is first of all not a credit facility only. It is not a credit facility. It is an outsourcing word. It is not at all a credit facility. It is not at all an advance kind of thing given by the bank. Bills for collection is like a outsourcing activity where they will collect the bills on behalf of the customer for commission. That is not a credit facility at all. Okay, so out of the entire list, only 2 are non-funded, letters of credit issued and guarantees. These 2 are non-funded, remaining all are all funded except the bills for collection. Bills for collection is not at all a credit facility at all. Next one. On going through listing of housing loans granted to general public, CAB notices that branch has sanctioned many housing loans of small ticket size ranging between 10 lakhs to 20 lakhs. So the bank has paid. When going through the housing loans, the auditor has found that most of the loans which are given by the bank are in a reasonable range, like for example 10 to 20 lakhs. Whatever housing loans they have given, they are falling within this range only. In the same range they are falling. So he felt that this might carry a high risk of material misstatement. Why? Because more or less all the loans are falling within the same range only. So, but generally that will not happen, because depending upon the housing scheme, depending upon the house being built, the loan amount should change. Sometimes a person can come and construct a 5 floors of building, he might require 1 crore rupees of loan. So like that, there should be a gap between different amounts of housing loan which are given by the bank. But here, auditor found that all the housing loans are falling within a same range of 10 to 20. So something suspicious he felt. He felt that risk of material misstatement is high. As a consequence, he has designed audit procedure to perform test of controls as well as substantive test. Okay. Next, Saurabh has been further asked to go through SMA special mention accounts jotting as on 30th of November 2022. Now, what is this special mention account? What is this SMA? See, we know NPAs, right? So generally, an account will be classified as NPA if it remains overdue for more than 90 days. If it remains overdue for more than 90 days, it will be classified as NPA. But even before an account becomes NPA, well in advance, we can find out which accounts have a potential to become NPA by way of special mention accounts. What is SMA? See, for example, a bank has given a loan to one customer. If this customer makes a payment, if this customer did not make a payment beyond 90 days, if his account remains overdue for more than 90 days, then his account will become NPA. But before that only, what will happen is, if a customer has taken a loan, but if his account has remained overdue for 0 to 30 days, his account has become overdue, but it is not has become exceeded more than 90 days. If it remains overdue for more than 90 days, it will become NPA. But even before the asset becomes NPA, for example, if a customer did not make the repayment of the loan, and if his account remains overdue for more than between 0 to 30 days, his account will not be classified NPA. His account will be classified as NPA only if it remains overdue for more than 90 days. But for identification, this account will be treated as SMA 0. We'll treat this account as SMA 0. If his account remains overdue from 31 to 60 days, now we will call it as a special mention account 01. If it remains for 60 to 90 days, then we call it as SMA 02. Now, once if it has become more than 90 days, then it will be classified as NPA. So NPA means it is a bad asset quality. Standard to substandard it will go. But even before an account becomes NPA, we keep them under special mention accounts if they remain overdue. Sir, what is the purpose of keeping these accounts under the category of special mention accounts? Why? Because these SMA accounts will help the management or the auditor to find out the potential accounts which have a capability of becoming NPA. To find out the accounts which are having a chances of becoming NPA, to identify that, one more classification will be done, SMA classification will be done. Able to understand? So that is what the meaning of SMA. Even before an account becomes NPA, to identify which potential accounts is having a chance of becoming an NPA, to identify those kind of accounts, we do this categorization SMA. So Saurabh has been further asked, that is engagement team member has been asked to go through SMA accounts jotting as on 30th of November 2022. Such reports are available from systems on the monthly frequency. Being new to such type of assignment, he is unable to understand relevance of the above audit procedure mandated by the engagement partner. See, engagement partner told his engagement team member, boss, you have to strictly go through special mention accounts. But this engagement team member, since he was new to the bank audit, he did not understand why the engagement partner is asking him to go through the SMA accounts. So why the engagement partner is asking his engagement team member to go through SMA accounts? Because that will help them to identify which potential accounts is having a chance of becoming an NPA. So to identify that, engagement partner is asking his engagement team member to pay special attention to special mention accounts, SMAs. Understood? Now, so based on the above facts, they are asking some questions. Let us see. Considering table given in the above scenario, which of the following combinations is appropriate example of non-funded credit facilities provided by the branch? So out of the loans, whatever they have given, which one is a non-funded advance? As I've already told, only two things will fall under non-funded advances: letters of credit issued and guarantees issued. We have even made a identification also here. So that's why option number D. CAB's decision to perform both the test of controls as well as substantive was taken after he has assessed a risk of material misstatement in the financial statements to be high due to large number of small ticket size loans. That means the auditor has decided, as we have seen in the area of in the area of housing loans. Most of the loans are in the ticket range of 10 to 20. That means the risk is very, very high here. So that's why he decided he will perform test of controls and test of details. Yes, he has decided. Which is standard of auditing deals with auditor's responsibility to design such risk. Actually, SA 330 talks about responses to the risk. When you identify a risk of material misstatement, how you should respond to it. Like for example, if we identify the risk of material misstatement as low, we will perform less number of test of controls, we will perform less number of test of details. If you identify risk of material misstatement to be very high, we will concentrate more on test of controls, we will also concentrate more on test of details or substantive procedures. So SA 330 title also, if you see, SA 330 title is responses to assessed risk of material misstatement. That means once you identify the risk of material misstatement, how you will respond to it. See, basically we perform risk assessment procedures to identify the risk of material misstatement, and on the basis of whatever risk we have identified, we will respond to that risk. How we will respond to that risk? By way of performing compliance procedures, that is test of controls or substantive audit procedures. So the title itself says assessing responses to assessed risk of material misstatement. How you have to respond to the assessed risk of material misstatement, that is dealt by SA 330. So when you find the risk of material misstatement, the auditor has decided to perform test of controls as well as test of details. So where it was mentioned, SA 330, it was mentioned. See, in our material, if you have followed SA 330, you will not be able to find it as a separate standard. Why? Because SA 330, we have spread it across different chapters. SA 330 contains a content relevant to different topics. Like for example, SA 330 talks about risk assessment procedure, compliance procedure, substantive audit procedure. This concept I have already included in the audit evidence chapter. Then how you have to respond to the assessed risk of material misstatement? Can you use the last year's evidences? What you have to do when you find risk of material misstatement as very high? That content I have included in risk assessment and internal control chapter. So SA 330, you will not be able to find it as a separate standalone standard in my material. That concept has been spread across, depending on the relevance of the concept, that concept has been spread across audit evidence and risk assessment and internal controls chapter. So, but whatever it is, how you have to respond to the assessed risk of material misstatement, that has been dealt under SA 330. So, SA 330 deals about auditors' responses to assessed risk of material misstatement. Next one. Next question. Saurabh is unable to understand relevance of going through SMA jotting as on 30th of November 2022. Which of the following statements is the most appropriate? So, his engagement partner has asked him to go through the SMS. So why he has asked him to go through the SMS, he was unable to understand. Why he asked him to go through the SMS? Because that will help him to identify the potential accounts which have a chance of becoming NPAs. So it would necessarily help auditor in identifying accounts with significant lending exposure. No, that is not the reason. It would help auditor in identifying accounts which may involve downgrading from substandard to doubtful. No, that will help you to identify which assets will go from standard to substandard. Substandard means it has already become NPA. If it has already become NPA, what is the purpose of seeing SMA accounts? No need, right? So if you see the SMA accounts, you will come to know which assets, which loans are having a possibility of going from standard category to substandard. Not from substandard to doubtful. If it is already a substandard, it has already become NPA, then what is the logic of looking at SMA accounts? Next one. It would help auditor in identifying accounts where substantial recoveries have been identified during the audit. No, it will not help you to identify substantial recoveries. It will help you to identify where recoveries have not happened. It would help the auditor in identifying accounts which may involve downgrading from standard to NPA. Yes, this is what you will be able to find it out by going through that SMA accounts. So that is what the main logic why the engagement partner is asking his engagement team member to go through SMA accounts. Understood? So with this we are done with case scenario based MCQs. Now we have general MCQs. Let us have a look at the general MCQs also. We, the people, is an NGO working for rights of the citizens. Due to the nature of its activities, its volunteers take part in agitations which acquire political overtones, nothing but political donations. It also gets money from trust based in overseas countries. NGO is there, it is receiving money from the political parties, it is also receiving money from the overseas entities. Whenever NGO is receiving the money from the overseas countries, from abroad, if it is receiving the funds, that is a high risk. Why? Because today in India, we have some NGOs which are for just a namesake, they are incorporated as NGO, but they are getting used for siphoning of the funds. For money laundering activities, some NGOs are getting involved. So whenever you find that NGO is receiving money from outside of the India, there are high chances there could be a possibility of money laundering happening in those kind of NGOs through the structure of NGOs. Might be for namesake they are just NGOs, but they might be doing that hawala transactions and money laundering transactions. So the moment you find NGO is receiving huge amount of political donations and especially donations from overseas countries, risk will be very, very high there. The government has tightened regulatory mechanism for NGOs receiving foreign funding. Obviously, government will generally have strict restrictions for those NGOs or trusts which are receiving foreign donations. The Finance and Accounts Department in NGO is headed by an experienced person, a former volunteer and activist himself. Who is handling the Finance and Accounts Department? An experienced person is handling it. However, he has no professional or legal education background. CAN is appointed as auditor of above NGO. He is an experienced person in NGO activities, but he is not having professional or legal education. He is heading the Finance Department, but he doesn't have good knowledge of the laws and regulations applicable. He is not having good knowledge of the finance and accounts activities. He might be having experience in the NGO activities, but he is not having professional knowledge. So once again, there is high risk that there is a chance of financial statements not being prepared as per the applicable financial reporting framework. Since he doesn't have professional knowledge, since he doesn't know laws and regulations, high chance that whatever financial statements that are getting prepared under his guidance might not give a true and fair view, might not be as per the laws and regulations. CAN is appointed as auditor of NGO for the first time, and whoever auditor that has been appointed is conducting the audit for the NGO for the first time. Choose the most appropriate option regarding audit risk inferred by you from above. Depending on the above factors, what is your assessment regarding audit risk? So I'll say that in this given organization, the risk is very, very high. So audit risk in the above situation is low. Obviously wrong. The situation does not provide quantitative data. Therefore, it is not possible to make a precise measurement of audit risk. First thing, you cannot make a precise measurement only. It is not at all possible for you to do precise measurement of audit risk. That's why we say audit risk is a professional judgment. You can't precisely measure it. So in the option they are telling, you don't have quantitative data. Since you don't have quantitative data, you can't determine the risk. Even if you have a quantitative data also, you can't precisely measure the risk. Why? Because risk is a professional judgment. So this is also wrong here. Audit risk in the above situation is high, 100%. This is correct. Audit risk is very high. Considering various factors in the given case, the risk is high here. And the situation does not provide information affecting all components of audit risk. Therefore, inference cannot be made. No, they are telling. So you can't decide on the audit risk on the basis of above facts. No, the above facts are well enough to determine the risk. Risk is very high here. Option C is the correct option. Next one. CAJ is in the process of planning audit for large company engaged in business of dealing and manufacturing of pharmaceutical products. Central Drugs Standard Control Organization, National Regulatory Authority under Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, is responsible for approval of the drugs, conduct of clinical trials, and laying down standards for drugs and control over quality of the imported goods. So they are telling nature of the client's business and who is regulating that kind of business, that also they have told. Next one. Auditor is also considering whether to make use of audit evidence obtained in the previous audits of the same company. He's determining even can he use the last year's evidence in the current year's audit. Besides, is also considering volume of the transactions to determine whether it is efficient to rely on internal controls. As a part of planning activities, he is also considering extent of substantive audit procedures to be performed by him. So he is also considering what level of substantive audit procedures he has to perform. Consider following the factors from 1 to 5. Now they have given some factors. Reporting requirements as per reporting requirements by CDCSO. Need for specialized knowledge of the pharma industry. Expected use of audit evidence obtained in the previous audits. Volume of the transactions to consider reliance on the internal control. Nature and extent of the substantive audit procedures. 5 factors they have given. Now what is the question? Considering the most appropriate factor or combination of factors which could be relevant to CAG in establishing audit strategy, out of the above factors which he will consider in determining overall audit strategy. The first question in the audit strategy planning and program, what are the factors which you will consider in determining overall audit strategy? So they have given 5 factors. Out of that, they are asking us to decide which factors we will consider in determining overall audit strategy. Nothing but you have to read this question in reference to question number 1 in our material. You will be able to find question number 1 in audit strategy planning and program. What are the factors you are required to consider? 5 factors they will give. So we have to find out of the factors given here, which factors are there in that list, which factor is not there in that list. Reporting requirements. Will you consider? Yes, you will consider the reporting requirements. Second point. So let me show you that also. Let me show you that question also. Just give me a moment. Where is the material? Okay, so here if you see audit strategies, this is our main material. 5 not 5. See here. So what are the factors which are required to be considered by an auditor in establishing audit strategy? Number 1, you have to consider the characteristics of the engagement. Then you have to understand reporting objectives. Yes, reporting objectives also you have to consider. Factors that are in the auditor's professional judgment which are significant. So some other factors also you have to consider, like industry development, changes in the industry which is happening, changes in the financial reporting framework, relevant developments, etc. happen in the environment. And even you have to consider the results of preliminary engagement activities, and even you can use the knowledge which you have gained on other engagements as well, and also nature, timing and extent of resources. Clear? So these are the factors which you are required to consider. Now they have given a list of factors. From that we have to decide which one will be considered, which one will not be considered. So if you look at the first option, reporting requirements, will you consider? Yes, 100% will consider. Need for specialized knowledge of pharma industry. Since you are conducting audit of pharma industry, while establishing audit strategy, you will also decide, am I required to know specifically regarding pharma industry? Nothing but obtaining knowledge of the industry. Do you also require to consider the knowledge of the industry for deciding audit strategy? Yes, you need to even consider that factor. Do I require any specialized knowledge regarding pharma industry to conduct the audit? After that only you have to decide how much time you want, how many resources you want. Next one, okay, this factor also will be considered. Next one, expected use of audit evidence obtained in the previous year's audit. While deciding audit strategy, will also consider how much extent of last year's evidence I can use it in the current year. If you could use last year's evidence in the current year, less time, less resources. If you are unable to use the last year's evidence in the current year, more time, more resources. So this also will consider. Volume of transactions, to consider reliance on internal controls. Yes, you can also consider how much volume of transactions will be there in the client's business. Then you can decide overall audit strategy. And nature and extent of substantive audit procedures. This generally we will not consider it at the strategy state. This is something which we will consider at the time of development of audit plan. At the time of development of audit plan, we will consider this, not at the time of development of overall audit strategy. While establishing audit strategy, even if you have look at the list, whatever I have shown you, even if you go through that theory part, you will never be able to find nature, timing and extent of substantive audit procedures. This you will not be able to find in the list. The above 4 you will be able to find out. So out of the above 5 factors, you will consider the first 4 factors. 1, 2, 3 and 4 will be considered while establishing the overall audit strategy. So let me cross verify the answer. Okay, so second one is C. Is that C only? Yeah, C only. Understood. Next one. Third question. CA Tarini is in the process of formulating audit plan for conducting audit of company engaged in business of dealing in commodity futures. Which of the following is not likely to be an appropriate audit procedure to be included in the audit plan for the above said company? So CA Tarini, she is conducting audit of the company which is dealing in commodity futures. Commodity futures means this crude oil futures will be there in the stock market. In the derivative market, there will be futures, commodity futures like crude oil futures, and also there will be something called CNG futures. There will be gold futures, silver futures, it will be traded, where actually stock will not be traded, just they will bet on the prices of that metals and all. So she is dealing into commodity futures. Which of the following is not likely to be an appropriate audit procedure to be included in the audit plan? So they have given some steps in the audit plan which is not required to be included in the audit plan, that we have to find it out. Verification of turnover of the company. Yes, you have to verify the turnover of the company from dealing in the commodity futures. Verification of cost of raw material consumed. If you pay close attention here, this kind of business does not involve any raw material. In case of dealing in the futures, you will not have any material, you will not do any processing, you will not have any raw material. It is just a matter of contract. You are just dealing in the contract, that's it. So that does not involve any raw material consumption basically. So there will be no process of production or manufacturing. It is completely illogical. There is no need of raw material consumption only. This kind of industry does not involve any consumption of raw material only. Why? Because it is just a paper contracts which are getting dealt there. That's it. So that's why there will be no raw material consumption only. Why you will verify raw material consumption at all? That is not at all suitable for this industry. Next one, examination of company's accounting policy. Yes, accounting policies we will study. Verification of contract notes with the brokers. So they will execute these contracts. Whatever these derivative contracts are there, when you trade on the stock exchanges, you will get from the broker something called a contract note. In that contract note, all the details will be there. At what price you have purchased, what is the commission, so on what date you have purchased. Nothing but a contract note is a supporting document that is buying or selling has taken place on the market. Yes, you can verify this contract note also for verifying whether transaction has actually taken place or not. This also you will verify. But which is the most inappropriate thing? B is the most inappropriate thing, because this kind of industry does not involve any raw material consumption only. So what is the logic of doing it here? Clear? Able to understand? So here also the correct option is going to be option B. So with this we are done with MCQ part. Now balance we are left with descriptive questions. So let us try to understand that descriptive questions as well. So we'll start reading the descriptive questions from question number 1. So as you could see, under each question there are 4 sub questions. So let us have a look at what kind of descriptive questions they ask here. And one more caution I want to give before I start explaining. See, sometimes you will find the questions in the examination this much lengthy questions you will be able to find. But see, the student psychology is of such a nature that the moment a student sees a very bigger question, immediately a panic will start. So out of that panic, what will happen is you will not pay attention while you are reading the question, and important facts you will miss out. And in that anxiety, when you read the question, you will not be able to understand the question in a clear perspective. The answer will not strike your mind. You will not be able to even understand to which standard, to which chapter this question relates to, and that will add even more anxiety, and ultimately you will definitely write a wrong answer. So if you want to overcome these kind of things, if you want to overcome these kind of anxiety related issues and all, please well prepared. Please make your mind prepared that in the examination questions are going to be lengthy. So train your mind now only. So make your mind think in such a manner that okay, in the auditing examination or in any other paper, when I go and sit for the examination, when the examination hands over the question book to me, question paper will not be just 1 or 2 papers. Question paper will look like a small booklet. And when I start reading the questions are going to be damn lengthy. Please prepare your mind. And also make sure that whenever the question is lengthy, you need not worry about it. Sometimes even I will show you that in the questions, some questions will look very lengthy, but the question which they will be asking will be straightforward question. The question in size, it might look lengthy, but the concept of the question which they are asking might be very, very easy one, very, very straightforward question. So don't unnecessarily develop panic the moment you look at the size of the question. So always go with a positive attitude. Okay, if the question is looking lengthy, it is going to be straightforward question. Examiner is just trying to play with my mind. He wants to just create a panic in my mind. So stay calm, have that awareness in your mind, and then read the question. So that will help you a lot. Okay, so particularly this point you always remember, this point you have to keep in mind when you get the question paper in the hand. So just remember the words which I am saying now. So question paper is definitely going to be lengthy. Questions are going to be very big, but we need not worry about it. We will read the question with patience, and we will also have a positive attitude that whenever the question is lengthy, the question is going to be straightforward, the question is going to be very easy one. Have this kind of mindset. See, mindset is very important. The way you handle that 3 hours of the examination is going to be damn important. Not just doing that for 3-4 months of attending the classes, 3-4 months of sitting and preparing and doing multiple revisions. This is all one side, and the way you psychologically handle that 3 hours of examination time is going to be damn important. So that 3 hours of examination, whatever you are going to spend that 3 hours in the examination center, the way you psychologically handle that 3 hours of time, that is going to be damn important. So that is the most important thing. Their psychology matters a lot. Okay, so have a positive attitude. Don't get into the environment of panic. So with that intention, so let us try to have a look at the question. See, I will not be reading the answers and explaining that to you. Just I will say from which chapter this question relates to and what you are supposed to write. Anyhow, answer you can refer it in the suggested answers. You have that suggested answers anyhow. There you can read the detailed answer, but just I will explain the concept, overall concept of the question I am going to explain here. Right. DOX Limited, a service provider company engaged in providing courier services pan-India as well as internationally. So this company is providing courier services all over India and also internationally. They have appointed an internal auditor, Mr. G, in accordance with the requirements of the Companies Act 2013 during the financial year 2023-24. They have appointed a internal auditor. The company's annual turnover during the year 2022-23 has been about 300 crores during the year. During the above years, the turnover of the company is more than 300 crores. And business of the company has been profitable. The company is even making profits also. Mr. G heads internal audit department of the company, addressing governance activities, assisting in the improving risk management activities, and reviewing internal controls. So this company has appointed an internal audit team, and internal audit team is headed by Mr. G, and this company is assigning the activities relating to governance risk management to internal auditors. Discuss reporting responsibilities of the statutory auditor of the company under the Companies Act, specifically in relation to internal audit and related matters. So they are asking what are the reporting requirements of the statutory auditor regarding the internal audit related matter as per the Companies Act 2013. See, do you think statutory auditor is having any reporting requirements anywhere under Companies Act 2013? Yes, 100% yes. In the CARO. In CARO, there is one clause dedicatedly talking about internal audit related reporting requirements. So as per the CARO, you are required to write whether the company is required to make an appointment of internal auditor, and is the internal audit team commensurate with the nature and size of the business, And have you gone through the internal audit report while forming the report on the entire company? So that is what you are supposed to specifically write here. You are required to report on that. You are required to write that specific reporting requirement of the CARO regarding internal auditors matters. This we have understood in our class. When we understood the CARO reporting requirements, we also understood this particular reporting requirement that you are supposed to write. But if you have a look at the suggested answer, what they have given is, in order to make the answer look lengthy. See, this question is for 4 marks. But reporting requirements regarding internal audit under CARO contains only two lines. If you write that 2 lines regarding that internal audit matters, reporting requirements, can you expect the 4 marks? No. But the question is tested for 4 marks. So how he has presented to make the answer look lengthy and help you fetch 4 marks? So first he has written about applicability of CARO. First, he has written about applicability of CARO. So first, he has given that the company is not a public company. In the name, the company is not a private company. The company is a public company. In the name itself, it is clear. It is also not a banking company. It is also not a Section 8 company. It is also not a small company because turnover is already 300 crores. It is not a small company. And also, it is also does not fall under any other categories of exemptions. Like, it is not a small company, it is not a private company, it is not a one-person company, it is not a banking company, it is not a Section 8 company. So definitely CARO will become applicable. And if CARO becomes applicable, statutory auditor is required to report on CARO. In CARO, one of the clause number 14 is talking about internal audit matters. Regarding internal audit, what auditor has to report? Whether the company has an internal audit system commensurate with the size and nature of the business, whether the reports of the internal auditor for the period under audit were considered by the statutory auditor. So this is the only reporting requirement. But if you write this part only, you will not get 4 marks. Your objective is to fetch 4 marks by writing the answer. So how you can make the answer look like 4 marks is just write the applicability of CARO, then write the reporting requirements of the statutory auditor regarding the internal audit related matters. Clear? Understood? Next one. Second question. Up and High Private Limited has started its export business during the year 2023-24. The company was catering to domestic market only in the past years. Previously, it used to serve only domestic markets. CAH, statutory auditor of the company, is of the view that the company has understated its revenue by 50 lakhs in the year 2023-24 by not complying with the requirements of AS9 relating to revenue recognition. So auditor felt that the company has underreported its revenue and also they did not comply with the AS9 reporting requirements. Now, what is the question? Discuss responsibilities of the statutory auditor to communicate with the management in the above situation in accordance with SA 450. Also explain the usefulness of such communication. So if you remember SA 450's discussion, as we have told, the moment auditor has identified all the misstatements, he has to accumulate all that misstatements, and that misstatements are required to be communicated with the management and ask them to correct it first. The moment you find the misstatement, don't immediately jump to the conclusion that you will give modified opinion. No. First, the moment you have found out all the misstatements, you have to accumulate all that misstatements, communicate with the management and ask them to correct it. Sir, why that communication is important? Why? Because if you communicate with the management, whatever misstatements they have identified, some misstatements might be because of errors also, some misstatement might be because of fraud also. If it is because of error or fraud, if they are rectifiable, management will, first you have to give the opportunity for the management to rectify it. So if the management rectifies, well and good. But even after communication also, if the management did not rectify, then we will consider it as an uncorrected misstatement, and then we will consider the effect of the uncorrected misstatement, determine its materiality, then we will give a modified opinion. Able to understand? So that is what SA 450 says. So whatever misstatements that you have identified, direct question guys, it is not at all a lengthy question, it is not at all an indirect question. Even if you ignore all this part also, even if you ignore all this case scenario also, they are asking what are the responsibilities of the statutory auditor to communicate regarding misstatements with the management as per SA 450. What are the advantages of that communication? If you communicate with the management, the misstatements, whatever you have identified, what will be the advantages? Straightforward paragraph will be there in our material as per SA 450. Just you have to write it. So if you see here, right. So in the given case, the auditor identified misstatement relating to non-compliance with AS9. In accordance with requirements of SA 450, the auditor shall communicate on a timely basis on all misstatements accumulated during the year with the appropriate level of management unless prohibited by law. And the auditor shall request the management to correct the misstatements. What is the purpose of that communication? Timely communication of misstatements to the appropriate level of management is important. Why? Because it enables the management to evaluate whether those items are misstatements. In case if the management disagrees, in case if the management feels that they are not actually misstatements, they can communicate with the auditor why they don't treat it as a misstatement and all. And they can correct. That means if the auditor is wrong in deciding that as a misstatement, management can educate him that it is not a misstatement, that is only the correct accounting policy. And if you communicate with the management, it will give them an opportunity for correction, including which will enable the management to maintain accurate records and accurate books and records that will also help them in the future to avoid same kind of misstatements. Next one, if management, so one more question is also there. If management refuses to correct the misstatements as communicated by the statutory auditor, how would you proceed? So you communicated the misstatements to the management. You asked the management to correct them. Management did not correct it. What you will do? You will evaluate the materiality of that uncorrected misstatements, and if considered material, if you will express your opinion. You will express a modified opinion. So that's what you will do. If the management did not correct the misstatements, then you have to consider the effect of all that uncorrected misstatements and determine whether the financial statements as a whole are free from material misstatements. If you consider that if the financial statements are not free from material misstatements because of that uncorrected misstatements, then you will give a modified opinion. As simple as that. Next one. Coming to the next question. Prudent Enterprises Private Limited has incurred and fully spent for the first time corporate social responsibility expenditure amounting to 14.5 lakhs in pursuance to provisions of Section 135 of the Companies Act. The company has actually spent how much amount? 14.5 lakhs they have spent on CSR activities. The expenditure was spent for women empowerment program through an implementing agency, not a related party. So they have directly spent it. They did not make any donation to related party. They have directly spent that CSR amount, that too on women empowerment. As per law provisions, it was required to spend only 14 lakhs during the year. There is no shortfall in spending. The company is required to spend 14. They have spent more only. There is no shortfall in spending. Discuss how such information is required to be disclosed in accordance with the requirements of Schedule 3 to the Companies Act and financial statements of the company. This is very, very important. In my regular classes also, I have told you a few disclosure requirements are there which are very important from the examination perspective. Even if you have watched my marathon lectures, in the marathon also I have specifically gave you few disclosure items which are having a high chance of getting tested in the examination. Out of that, one is CSR expenditure, Binami transactions related details disclosures, and also I gave you disclosures regarding cryptocurrencies or digital currencies. So like that, I have specifically mentioned even in my marathon videos which are freely available on the YouTube. Even in my regular classes, I insisted on a few matters whose disclosure requirements have a high chance of getting tested in the examination. In that one item is CSR. I focused a lot on this. The same thing they are asking, what reporting requirements the management is required to give in the financial statements. They are not asking about auditors reporting requirements. Most of the students will get confused here. So if you, these kind of questions also you have to be very careful. So most of the students will get confused at that, since they are asking disclosure requirements regarding CSR, they will immediately write reporting requirements as per CARO regarding CSR expenditure. No, they are not asking reporting requirements of the auditor. Read the question carefully. So if we read this part, discuss how such information is required to be disclosed in accordance with the requirements of Schedule 3 of the Companies Act in the financial statements of the company. They are asking what are the disclosure requirements of the Companies Act under Schedule 3 as per the management requirements. So what management will give a disclosure regarding corporate social responsibility? They are not asking auditors reporting responsibilities. Most of the students often get confused here. They write here what are the auditors reporting requirements regarding CSR, and they write that CARO paragraph. Not that they are asking what are the management's disclosure requirements as per the Companies Act in the financial statements. So this is from the chapter audit of items of the financial statements. This particular question you will be able to find out. We have given the format. So these things you are required to disclose regarding corporate social responsibility. Like what is the amount which is required to be spent? 14 lakhs. What is the amount actually spent? 14.5 lakhs. Any shortfall? No. They are required to spend 14. They have spent more only. No shortfall. Total of the previous year shortfall. This is not applicable. Previous year shortfall, if any is there, that we have to write. That information is not given. Reason for shortfall, there is no shortfall only. Why you have to give the reasons? Nature of CSR activities, on what activities the company has spent the money. In the question itself they have given women empowerment activities through implementing agency. Details of related party transaction, nil. In the question itself they have told it is not a related party, they have directly spent it. So directly spent it, no related party. Whether a provision is made in respect with respect to liability incurred by entering into any contractual obligation, the movements in the provision during the year. That means if they have not yet spent the money, they have created a provision. That provision you have to say, but they have actually spent the entire amount. There is no contractual obligation pending, so that also will write it as nil here. So straight away from the audit of items of the financial statements. Clear? Right. Next one. CA Tripad engagement partner based at New Delhi is external auditor of Lab of Nature, a firm since last 3 years. The firm is engaged in business of providing tourism services, including holiday packages to its club members. It has also provided auditor, including his team members, free holidays for a week every year in one of its premium resorts in Ooty in the state of Tamil Nadu. That means the client is giving you hospitality. The client is trying to get more familiar with you. So what they are doing, they are providing holiday packages to the auditor also. So acceptance of gifts and hospitality from the client, it will lead to which kind of threat? Familiarity threat. So in the given case, the client is providing to the engagement team and the team members a free vacations, a free resorts in Ooty and all. That means they are trying to give free gifts in order to become more familiar with them. So it is leading to a familiarity threat. So the company has also booked free air travel for engagement team members during all the years. Discuss why chartered accountant is not acting ethically. Why? Because here there is a familiarity threat. How are familiarity threats created in the above situation? Just you have to write in your own words a little bit of elaboration. So like if I specifically read this answer, the firm is providing free hospitality to engagement team members, including engagement partner. In such circumstances, fundamental principles governing professional ethics are violated. Such acts of free hospitality are capable of impairing objectivity. That means if you accept a free hospitality gifts from the client, you will lose your unbiasedness. You will become more biased. You will lose your independence. The situation given in the question signifies that auditor have formed a relationship with the client where they may end up being too sympathetic to the client's interest. So the given facts in the question says that auditor has become very familiar with the client and he will generate a sympathy for the client. So before he giving a modified opinion, he will think, okay, this client has done so many favors for me. How can I give modified opinion? That means you are becoming too sympathetic for the client. Due to free hospitality enjoyed by the engagement team members, they have made a sympathetic view to issues which may have arisen during the course of audit. In this way, familiarity threats are created in the situation. You can even write it in your own words. How in the given situation familiarity threats are there. If you pay close attention to the answer, half of the answer will contain repetition of the points in the question only. Half of the answer will contain repetition of points of the question only. Just you have to write that few points, or else how you can present it. First you can write the meaning of familiarity threat. What is familiarity threat? Write few examples. Then you can say in the given case, one of the example of the familiarity threat, that is acceptance of the gifts is there. So that's why in the given case auditor might not act independently. In this manner familiarity threat is getting created. That way also you can present it. So whatever it is, try to present the answer in such a manner which will help you to fetch 3 marks. This is one way of presentation. I told you one more way also, like first write the meaning of familiarity threat, write a few examples, then refer the question to one of the examples and say that in this way familiarity threat is getting created. Next question. Mention any, this is a straightforward question. Mention any 4 financial events or conditions that individually or collectively may create a significant doubt on entity's ability to continue as a going concern. Straight away question from SA 570. They are asking financial indicators. I think I need not explain this. So straight away a few examples they're asking only 4, but don't write exactly 4. If they're asking 4, never write only 4. Okay, write minimum 6 or 7 you have to write, then only you will get the marks. Okay, so don't say that they have asked only 4 matters, I will write only 4 examples. No, write enough, 7 or 6, 7 or 8, that much you have to write, then only you can fetch full marks. So straightforward question, I think that doesn't require any explanation. Adequate planning benefits the audit of the financial statements in several ways. Explain. Nothing but what are the benefits of planning? What are the advantages of planning of the audit of the financial statements? This is also a straightforward question from our material. I think this also doesn't require any specific conceptual explanation. Straightforward question is there. You have to just remember the points from the material and write it here. Next one. The auditor carries out his work by obtaining audit evidence through performance of the audit procedures 100%. However, there are practical and legal limitations on the auditor's ability to obtain audit evidence. Give one example for such practical limitation and legal limitation. If you remember, this question is from nature, objective and scope of audit. If you remember that nature, objective and scope of audit, there is also a concept called inherent limitations of audit. In that inherent limitations of audit, we have one category of inherent limitations. There might be practical and legal limitations. The auditor might not be able to obtain audit evidence because of practical and legal limitations. They are asking you to write here one example of practical litigation, one example of legal litigation. So one thing what you can do is from that entire paragraph you can write here. So if I take you to the material, just give me a minute. So if you directly go to that inherent limitations question, question number 7. Yes. See here, inherent limitations are there, no? So in that inherent limitations also you are able to find nature of audit procedures. In this, you will be able to read this line. So there are certain practical and legal limitations on the auditor's ability to obtain audit evidence. That is what they are asking. But however, they are asking one example for practical litigation, one example for legal limitation. Sorry. So what you can do is you can write all these paragraphs. You can write all this. But in the suggested answer, since they are asking only one example, he has given sampling. See, auditor will not be able to do 100% of the verification. Auditor has to go for sampling. This is one of the practical limitation. So he has given this as a practical limitation example. And management themselves might not provide complete information to you. This is a legal limitation. Like audit is not like an investigation. You cannot force the management to provide all the information. You can only ask them, and whether they will give or they might not give, that depends on the management. So that is a legal limitation. That means we can't bring a pressure on the management. We can't make the compulsion on the management to share the information with us because we don't have such legal powers. That is one example of legal limitation. But you can do one thing, as I have told, instead of getting into all these details, what you can simply do is just if you could reproduce all this paragraph, that also will be fine. Why? Because you have given more than one example. If you have written all of this, you have given more than one example, you will get all the full marks. Okay, so that is what they are asking. What are the legal and practical limitations? They are asking you to give the examples of legal and practical limitations. Here we have 4, but they are asking only 1 for practical, 1 for legal. But if you don't want to get stuck into all that interpretations, just reproduce this entire paragraph, then also you'll fetch full marks. Clear? Now let us come to the next question. Question D. So let us see what is this. Goods and Service Tax Network (GSTN) is a not-for-profit, limited by shares company. Its 50% of the shareholding is with Union Government and 50% with a different states government. That means GSTN is a company limited by shares. It is a company in which 50% of the shares is with the central government and balance 50% is with the state government. That means GSTN is a what kind of company? It is a government company. It is a what? Government company. Why? Because this is a company in which not less than 51% of the paid up share capital is held by central government, state government, or a combination of them. So clearly GSTN is a government company. The company provides IT infrastructure and services to various stakeholders, including governments and taxpayers. The company is in operation since past few years and subsequent auditors need to be appointed during the financial year 2023-24. Who appoints a statutory auditor of such a company described above in accordance with the provisions of the Companies Act? Can any directions be issued to the statutory auditors of the above company? So if you pay close attention, this is a question from company audit. We used to have company audit under old scheme, but in the new scheme they have removed the company audit chapter from the audit, but still the company audit chapter is there in the law. So they have asked one question from the company audit chapter from law in the subject of audit. That's why even I told you in the marathon series also, we already have revision videos of the company audit. In our YouTube channel, we already have the revision videos of the company audit. Please just quickly refer that revision videos of the company audit once. So it will just one and a half hour, I guess, 1.5 hours of revision videos will be there. Please do watch that revision videos of the company audit. Why? Because even though that has been technically removed from our syllabus under new scheme, but still related questions might be tested. This is one best example. This is one best example in the MTP itself, even though they have removed the company audit chapter from our new scheme syllabus from the audit, but still they have asked the interlinking question. That's why even I told in my videos also, revision series videos also, and even marathon videos also, I gave you specific instruction. Old company audit revision, whatever are there, just watch them once, so that if these kind of questions gets tested, you'll be able to answer. So this is a question regarding appointment of subsequent auditor of a government company. You tell me who will appoint the auditor of a subsequent auditor of a government company. C and AG will make an appointment. So you have to write that procedure for appointment of subsequent auditor of a government company. And also they are asking, can the C and AG give instructions to the statutory auditor? Yes. C and AG can determine can give instructions to that auditor so appointed, the manner of conducting audit, and the auditor whoever has been appointed for the government company after conducting the statutory audit, one copy of the report he has to give the C and AG also, and they can even do the follow-up actions which you have discussed in the government audit. The C and AG can conduct either supplementary audit or they can conduct test audit also. So like that, you have to write some provisions of the Companies Act. So you can refer the suggested answer for better understanding. Right? But once again, one important question I'm giving you, refer to the company audit revision videos if time permits. So this is what regarding second question. Now let us come to the third question. Third question, subpart A. Suniti, a chartered ACA student, is a part of engagement team conducting audit of a company, TIM Private Limited. According to audit program, she is responsible for verifying purchases and PPA items appearing in the books of accounts from records or bills of the company. Besides, she has also been entrusted responsibility to obtain written representation from the management regarding carrying out of physical verification of inventories during the year. During the course of her work, she finds that one purchase bill amounting to 5 lakhs pertaining to TIM Industries has been entered in the books of accounts of TIM Private Limited. So she came to know that there is one bill in which 5 lakhs was purchased from TIM Industries, but by mistake it was recorded in the books as TIM Private Limited. Mistake has been done. And the management has refused to provide a written representation relating to physical verification of inventories during the year. So she has also been asked to obtain written representation, but the management did not give the written representation. She has brought it to the knowledge of the engagement partner, who has decided to use such lack of representation as audit evidence. Discuss whether each of the above constitutes audit evidence. State reasoning for your answer. See, she found that one invoice she has found where it was clear that that purchase was made from TIM Industries, but by mistake it was recorded in the books of accounts as TIM Private Limited. Do you think that is evidence? Yes. And in one more case, management is not giving representation. Can that also constitute evidence? Yes. See, what they're trying to say here is when we discuss the audit evidence chapter, let me take you that let me take you to that specific section what I'm referring to. So if you open my material and go through that audit evidence chapter, go through that audit evidence chapter. Just a minute. Audit evidence, audit evidence. Come on. Yes. So this is the audit evidence chapter. So if you see here, right, this is the point which they are referring to. Audit evidence comprises information that supports and corroborates the management assertion, and it also includes the information that contradicts. When I say audit evidence doesn't mean only that information which supports the items in the financial statements, which contradicts with the items of the financial statements is also evidence. For example, if you find invoice is correct, that is evidence that entry is correct. If you find that something is wrong, that is the evidence that the items in the financial statements are wrong. So when I say audit evidence, that just doesn't include the information only that supports and corroborates management assertion, it also includes the information that contradicts with such assertion. And also one more point also I have given, in addition, in some cases the absence of information, even look at the example in the brackets also. For example, management's refusal to provide a requested representation can also constitute audit evidence. Exactly same terms they have used in the MTP. Able to understand? Even the bracket, in the bracket whatever example I have given, from that example they have framed a question. I'm not telling they have framed the question from my material, but our material is that much comprehensive. That's what I'm telling. I'm able to cover everything which is relevant for the examination perspective. That's what my intention of saying that is. I'm not telling ICA has given the question from my material. I will never say it. Why? Because I have also taken my material from the study material only. Right? So I have drafted the material in a so much of comprehensive way that is enough for you to answer the questions in the examination. So regarding these 2 points, they are asking the question, but practically they have given a case scenario kind of thing and they are asking. So yes, what you can write to the given question is, yes, in the given case, both the questions, both the statements, both the cases will constitute evidence. Wrong invoice also is an evidence. Not getting information also sometimes can be taken as an evidence, but you have to elaborate that so you can get the 4 marks. How you can present it to get the 4 marks, that you can see it here. See here, very small information they have provided. See how you can present this. First you can write what is the meaning of audit evidence and what will be included in the audit evidence. Just write some 3-4 lines as regarding audit evidence. Then you write the 2 statements, whatever I have shown you in my main material. Write the 2 statements, then relate the given statements with the given question. Like in the given case, the auditor has found that in the invoice Tim Industries is there, but it was wrongly recorded as Tim Private Limited. So this also will be considered as audit evidence because it is contradicting with the information given in the financial statements. Similarly, auditor asked for written representation. Management did not give the written representation, and as per the standards, even refusal to get the management representation can also constitute a audit evidence. So this is how you have to present. This will make the answer look a reasonable length, and you can score the 4 marks easily. Understood? Next one. Next question. CAB is a statutory auditor of Boom Payments Bank for the year 2023-24. During the year, the banking regulator has imposed restrictions on bank from accepting new deposits due to non-compliance in conducting KYC in large number of accounts and violation of rules aimed at preventing money laundering. So during the year, the banking regulator has imposed strict regulations. That is, RBI has imposed strict regulations on the banking companies. There is a material uncertainty regarding a probable outcome of such a restriction on the ability to continue as a going concern. However, going concern is appropriate. So nothing but on the basis of evidence, auditor found that going concern is appropriate, but there is a material uncertainty relating to going concern. So SA 570 should immediately strike your mind. Material uncertainty relating to going concern. In case if there is a material uncertainty relating to going concern, what you should do? First, we have to check whether there is a adequate disclosure or not. If there is a adequate disclosure, we can give unmodified opinion, but we have to highlight this information by using one separate paragraph in the audit report with the title Material Uncertainty Relating to Going Concern. That paragraph you have to use, and you have to bring that matter to users' attention. However, if there is no adequate disclosure given, by the management in the financial statements regarding the material uncertainty, you have to give the modified opinion, either qualified or adverse opinion. You have to give the reason for giving that qualified or adverse opinion, that I have to explain in the basis for modified opinion paragraph. So now what they are telling, so fine, till here they have told that there is a material uncertainty relating to going concern. After that, what they are telling, the financial statements of the bank do not make adequate disclosure of material uncertainty. They did not give a proper disclosure regarding material uncertainty. So what are the implications for the auditor's report? As an auditor, what will be your auditor's report? What will be your impact on the auditor's report? You have to give a modified opinion, and you have to explain the reasons for modified opinion in the basis for modified opinion paragraph. That's it. So this is what you are supposed to write. Next, we have two straightforward questions. Auditor shall develop an audit plan that includes description of audit procedures, specify requirements in this regard. Nothing but what should be included in your audit plan. Your audit plan should include risk assessment procedures. Your audit plan should include compliance procedures. Your audit plan should include substantive audit procedures. Your audit plan should also include any other procedures, whatever you feel appropriate. The same thing you will be able to find it in the answer. Straightforward direct question. Like your audit plan should include nature, timing, and extent of risk assessment procedures, nature, timing, and planning of further audit procedures, which include compliance procedures and substantive audit procedures, and any other planned procedure which are required as per the standard. That's what will be included in the audit plan. So straightforward question. Next one is also a very straightforward question. What is meant by audit documentation? What are the objectives of the auditor in accordance with SA 230? So they're asking you what is the meaning of audit documentation. What is the meaning of audit documentation? Audit documentation is a record of audit procedures performed, audit evidence obtained, and the conclusions reached by the auditor. What are the objectives of the auditor? The main objective of the what is the main objective of maintaining audit documentation? The objective of SA 230 is it will act as audit documentation will act as evidence in the court of law that you have done the work properly. That is a basis for your opinion, and also it will act as evidence that you have performed and planned the audit as per the requirements of the standards on audit. That's it. These two objectives you have to write. Next one, fourth question. You are a part of engagement team conducting audit of an entity engaged in manufacturing business. State few audit procedures you would undertake to perform to verify that recorded sales in the financial statements represent goods actually sold during the period and recorded sales are not overstated. Nothing but indirectly they are telling how do you verify occurrence. Whatever revenue that has been recorded, that should have actually happened. That means how you would obtain audit evidence regarding occurrence of the sales, occurrence of revenue. So this question is from audit of items of financial statements. Straightforward question. How do you verify occurrence of the sales? List of audit procedures you have to write, like whether a sale invoice is not recorded more than once. They have to obtain confirmation, check whether any fictitious customers are there, check that shipments are done only after getting the consent, whether unearned revenue has been recorded, whether any uncertainty exists regarding the collectability. So these are the few things which you are required to write regarding occurrence. Straightforward question from the material. Next question. This is a little bit tricky question. While performing statutory audit of Contra Industries Private Limited, a company engaged in manufacturing and assembling of LED lights, CA Varun has decided to attend physical inventory count process of the company on 30th and 31st of March. The inventories are lying at 3 different locations. 2 such locations are A and B are in one city, and the third location C is in another city. Further, company also sends inventories to some service providers for quality control and testing, as such facilities are not available with the company. Nothing but the summary is the company is having 3 places where they will keep the stock. 2 places are in the same city. And also this company is keeping the stock with a third party. This company has sent some goods for quality control and testing, like they have sent the goods for job work purposes. The stock is lying even in the custody of the third party also. Next one. CA Varun is well versed with this type of industry, has prepared a list of following matters which could be relevant to him in planning attendance at the physical inventory count process for discharging his responsibility in accordance with SS. So now, since he is already aware of this kind of industry, he prepared what list of things he has to consider when he go for physical verification of the stock. Nothing but whenever you find that the question is regarding physical verification of inventory or obtaining audit evidence regarding inventory, immediately what thing should strike your mind? SA 501 should strike your mind. Why? Because SA 501 is talking about specific considerations we have to keep in mind while conducting audit of selected items. And first item which is selected, regarding which SA 501 is giving guidance, is how you can obtain audit evidence regarding existence and condition of inventory. So the question is also talking about, as an auditor, what things you have to do regarding physical verification of stock. So immediately which is standard should strike your mind? SA 501 should strike your mind. And so what they're trying to say here is, since CA Varun is already well versed with this kind of industry, now he has drafted what things he has to keep in mind while going for physical verification, what factors he has to consider, what will be his responsibilities. He has made a list. He has to obtain audit evidence regarding nature of inventory, like is it in the form of work in progress, or is it in the form of finished goods, or is it in the form of raw materials. Materiality of inventories, what is the level of materiality, what quantity of stock, is there any significant amount of stock at any of these warehouses? Materiality he has to decide. Stages of completion of work in progress, if it is work in progress, the auditor should try to obtain audit evidence. What is the stages of completion of work in progress? Maintenance of perpetual inventory system, is the client maintaining perpetual inventory system or not? That he has to verify. Materiality of inventories lying with the service providers, as I have told, some of the stock is lying with the third parties. What is the materiality of that item which is lying with the third parties? Timing of physical inventory counting, that is when you are conducting that physical verification, is it on the balance sheet date or other than the balance sheet date? So he made a list that these factors he has to consider while going for inventory verification. Now what is the question? The question is, there are 2 important matters which do not find a place in the above list. There are 2 other important matters which auditor should have considered while doing physical verification, which is not included in this list. They are asking you to write, without considering those crucial those crucial matters, it would be difficult for the auditor to properly plan his attendance at physical inventory counting, discuss such matters. So what are the two matters that is missing? He has decided he will verify nature of inventory. He will consider what is the materiality of inventories at different locations. What is the stages of completion of work in progress? Whether perpetual inventory system is there. What is the materiality of the inventory lying with the service providers? What is the timing of the physical inventory counting? Apart from this item, there are two other important items which auditor has to consider while doing physical verification. What are the two other important items which have missed here? So if you have a look at the answer, they are telling that the the list given in the question does not contain two important matters. What are they? Whether adequate procedures are expected to be established and proper instructions have been issued for physical inventory counting. Nothing but when you go for physical verification, proper instructions should have been given to the person whoever is doing the inventory counting. So without giving proper instructions, inventory verification will not happen effectively. So that's why one of the most important factor which you should consider when you go for physical verification is whether the persons who are doing that inventory counting has been given proper instructions. So the auditor has to evaluate management instructions for recording and controlling physical inventory counting. It is important for the auditor to know beforehand how the inventory counting will be conducted so as to assess his effectiveness. So one factor which he has to consider is whether proper instructions are given for counting or not. Next one, the nature of internal control. One more thing which you have to consider is you have considered all these things for doing physical verification, but one more important thing which you have to consider is when you go for physical verification, you should also consider whether proper internal controls are there or not, like proper security measures are there or not, CCTV camera service is there or not, so whether there is proper store in charge or not, so whether there is a physical security guards or not. So these kind of internal controls also you have to verify when you go for physical verification. So specifically, if I have to show you the answer in SA 501, where is SA 501? So just a minute. So if we go to SA 501, yes. This is 450. This is SA 501. So if you see here they have told. So these are the list. So matters which are relevant in planning, inventory, counting. The list is there here. What they have given: nature of inventory given in the question, stages of completion given, risk of material misstatement, this they did not give in the question, nature of internal control, this also they have not given in the list, whether adequate procedures are expected to be established and proper instructions given, this item is also not given, timing has been given, entities maintaining proper records, location at which the inventory is held, materiality of the inventory, this also they have told, assistance of auditors expert is needed, this is also not given. So if you pay close attention in this, all the list of items in the question, they have given certain things. 4 items they did not give. They did not give this point, risk of material misstatement related to inventory. They did not give this points, whether adequate procedures are expected to establish and proper instructions are given for inventory counting. They also did not give this point, whether assistance of auditors expert is needed. They also did not give one more point, which one is this? Yes, nature of internal control. So this they are asking which two important points are not given. But if you pay close attention from SA 501, in the list of matters which are required to be considered at inventory counting process, 4 are not given in the question. They also did not talk about risk of material misstatement relating to inventory. They never said what factors you have to consider. They did not say the risk of material misstatement. Did they say here risk of material misstatement in these items? No. So that means you could have written that risk of material misstatement also. Identifying what is the risk of material misstatement regarding inventory, that also you could have written, but they did not give that point also. They did not give that point also in the list. So if you ask me, this answer is not that specific answer. Some student might feel that from the question given here, he might, if he remembered that list, first thing, if you remember that list of matters which are required to be considered as per SA 501, so what some other student might have written is, he might have written, okay, they did not say about risk of material misstatement relating to inventory. This did not considered by the auditor. He might elaborate this point also. But in the suggested answer, they have spoke about only D and D. They did not talk about this particular point, risk of material misstatement. They also did not talk about assistance of auditors expert is needed. So I will say they should have given all the 4 points in the suggested answer. Whatever 4 points have missed, all the 4 points they should have given in the suggested answer. And if the student writes any 2 of that points, they should have allocated the marks. They should have allocated the marks. But in the suggested answer, our bad luck, they have given only these 2 points. But obviously, practically speaking, this is also a valid point which should have been considered while you go for physical verification. This is also a valid point which you should have considered while doing physical verification. But in the suggested answer, they have given only these 2 points which are not included. But according to me personally, so if you ask me what should have been the appropriate suggested answer, is in the suggested answer they should have elaborated all these 4 points, and out of this 4, if the student writes any 2, they should have given the full marks. But unfortunately, they have given only 2 exact points. So your suggested answer should match with this. So this is highly debatable answer. Even I don't personally agree with this answer. Okay, right. Even if you see here, this question is also completely covered in our material. This question is also covered in the material. Yes or no? See, exactly I have shown which points are not there in this list. Next one. The auditor should decide whether relevant information is properly disclosed in the financial statements explained with reference to the scope of audit. This question is from nature, objective and scope of audit. If you remember, in that scope of audit we have seen, in that scope of audit, one point which we have to see as a part of our scope is we need to check whether the financial statements are presented and disclosed properly as accordance with the applicable financial reporting framework. And how you can do that by checking accounting estimates are reasonable or not, by checking whether accounting policies are consistent or not, and by trying to understand whether applicable financial reporting framework has been followed or not. A few points we have given, so just refer to that scope of audit question from the chapter nature, objective and scope of audit, direct question. Next one. SQC1 dwells upon engagement quality control review as a part of the system of quality control in a firm. Why is such a review required? For which type of engagement EQCR is required? Engagement quality control is required. What should be the approach? If you pay attention to this question, we have something called supplementary material. I have given some 10 pages of the supplementary material. Even I have covered this SQC1 related content in my marathon videos also. So in that SQC1, you will be able to find when EQCR will be mandatory. Engagement quality control review will be mandatory for the audit of listed companies. What will happen in the case of engagement quality control review? Whatever judgments that have been made during the course of the audit by the engagement team, just before the report has been given, someone from the firm who is not part of the engagement team should conduct review whether engagement team till now has done the work properly or not. Whatever judgments they have made during the course of the audit, is it appropriate or not? Just before giving the report, this has to be verified by one independent person. That process we call it as engagement quality control review, and engagement control quality review will be mandatory for listed companies. This you will be able to find it in our supplementary material. 10 pages of the supplementary material is there, not much. And even this points, if you have followed our marathon, you would have got it. Even in the marathon also I have covered it. Even in the marathon also I have covered this particular part. See here, supplementary material. So if you come to the supplementary material, so if you come to SQC1, so engagement quality control review, there will be a part. Just a moment. I think it is there in the main material itself. So you have to write, even in the this point I have covered even as a part of that marathon videos also. So you have to write about engagement quality control review. So where it will be mandatory, it will be mandatory in the case of listed companies, engagement quality control. So as a part of the supplementary material and main material, you will be able to find it. Clear everybody? So that is what you are supposed to write, or even you can just refer to the suggested answer also. So what is this EQCR and all? Fine. Next one. So coming to the next point, coming to the next question. WTE Private Limited is engaged in the business of manufacturing a product liable to GST at the rate of 5%. The input raw materials for manufacturing this product are liable to GST at 12% and 18%. That means there is a company which is buying the raw material. Raw material will have 12% of GST and 18% of GST. That means they are going to credit for these amounts. As a result, at the end of the financial year, ITC on inputs amounting to 60 lakhs is accumulated in the electronic credit ledger and refundable to the company under provisions of the GST law. So your outputs are liable at 5%. You are buying inputs at 12% and 18%. So obviously you have excess input tax credit amounting to 60 lakh rupees. And this is refundable. This will be given back to you and refundable to the company. How above balance amount of 60 lakhs will be reflected in the balance sheet of the company. So whatever this 60 lakhs of input tax credit is there, which is receivable, how you will present it? You have to present it as other current assets in the balance sheet. This is receivable for you, no. So this will be other current assets in your balance sheet. You have to show it. So state few audit procedures to be performed for verification of aforesaid balances, and how you will verify whether this amount which is stated in the balance sheet, the 60 lakhs rupees of ITC refundable, which you have shown it as other current assets, how you are going to present in your, what procedures you will verify. How you will verify whether this 60 lakhs is correct or not. So this is very straightforward question once again. So as you see here, this amount will be shown as a other current assets. This amount will be shown as other current assets. And how you will verify whether this amount is correct or not? You can verify the balances with the statutory authorities. Like you can log into the client's GST portal, there you can verify. And even you can obtain the copies of the GST returns filed on the GST portal. In case if the amount is refundable, check whether any application has been made with the GST portal. And even you can check if application has been made, in future you will get the refund. No, future years bank statements also you can verify to check whether really refund amount has been received or not. So the same thing, these are the few audit procedures which they have told particularly regarding that GST input tax credit. This is a specific question. This is a specific question they have asked. So using your common sense, you have to write the answer. Next one. Now let us talk about this. The objective of an auditor in accordance with SA 315 is to identify and assess the risk of material misstatement at the financial statement level and at the assertion level. Which specific activities as an auditor you are required to perform for the purpose of identifying and assessing the risk of material misstatement. So how you can identify risk of material misstatement, what activities you will do. So basically we try to perform risk assessment procedures. That is, we try to obtain understanding of entity, environment and its internal control, and by obtaining that understanding we will try to identify the risk of material misstatement. And that risk we have to identify it at two levels, at the financial statement level, at the assertion level. And assessment of risk is a matter of professional judgment. It is not capable of precise calculation. Nothing but this information you will be able to find it in the risk assessment and internal control chapter. If you go to risk assessment and internal control chapter in my material, and if you go to question number 2 of the risk assessment and internal control chapter, if you go to question number 2 in the risk assessment and internal control chapter, initial introductory lines will be there. That's what you are supposed to write here. So just let me show you the reference in the material. This is audit documentation and audit evidence. So where is it? Yeah, if you see here, risk assessment and internal control, in that question number 2 is there. In that question number 2, introductory lines are there. What is the risk assessment procedure? Nothing but how do you identify the risk of material misstatement. So this a few paragraphs you have to write. So what is the risk of material misstatement? How you can identify by understanding the entity and its environment. And also you have to pay more attention to pervasive level risk. You have to assess what can go wrong, and you have to remember that risk may arise from fraud or error. Even if you look at the suggested answer, more or less the same points will be there. So these few introductory lines you have to write. Nothing but they're asking you to elaborate on the risk assessment procedures. That's it. Next question. You have been appointed as an auditor of ABC Hotel, a 3-star hotel, for the financial year 2022-23. As an auditor, what are the special points that need to be considered in verifying the inventories of nature of food and beverages? Nothing but this is from audit of items of the financial statements. In that, audit of various entities, in that also we'll have one specific question, audit of hotels, and specifically while conducting audit of hotels, and that too in the hotels also, when it comes to inventory, especially inventory in the hotels will be in the form of food and beverages, what steps you will verify? Like you will verify whether all the movements and transfer of inventories has been properly documented. Issue of the food items, purchase of the food items, consumption of the food items, everything has been properly documented or not. We have to check. Areas where inventories are kept must be kept locked and the key should be retained by departmental manager. So wherever you are keeping this inventory, that should be logged and the key should be given to only manager and concerned authority. The key should be released only to trusted personnel. Many hotels use specialized professional valuers to count and value the inventories. So in case if required, you have to recruit one professional who will do the proper valuation of the inventory. And the auditor should ensure that all the inventories are valued at the year end and that he himself should be present at the year end physical verification of the stock to the extent practicable. So this is what you are supposed to write. Next one, professional behavior is one of the fundamental principles governing professional ethics. Explain its meaning and also give an example. So if you remember, there are 5 ethical requirements. The 5 ethical requirements are integrity, objectivity, confidentiality, professional competence and due care, and professional behavior. They're only asking you to write about the professional behavior. What is professional behavior? That means you are doing the work in compliance with the laws and regulations. You should not do anything which brings a discredit to the profession, which brings a wrong credit for the profession. So those activities you should not do. So just you have to write the example of the professional behavior. Just you have to write the meaning of the example of meaning of the professional behavior, and in the answer they have given one example also. Like if you see one example of maintaining professional behavior, a chartered accountant has conducted audit of accounts of an entity for a particular year. ICA has issued a letter to him relating to certain matters concerning audit. He didn't even bother to reply to the letter despite reminders. ICA has asked some information from that person. They are continuously sending him reminders. Still he is not replying. Failure to reply to professional body smacks of lack of courtesy and professional responsibility. In the given case, chartered accountant has not followed the principles of professional behavior. A small example they have given. Clear? Coming to the next question. CAZ is appointed as statutory auditor of Beta Private Limited for the year 2023-24. There exists an internal audit function in the company headed by its chief internal auditor, CAK. Valuation of trade receivables of the company is assessed as a area of high risk by the statutory auditor. He wants to take direct assistance of the chief internal auditor in respect of above matter. So here the question is talking about SA 610. There is a statutory auditor. Statutory auditor wants to make use of the internal auditor's work. And they told that specifically when it comes to valuation of trade receivables, the risk is very high. And if you remember, the statutory auditor can't use the work of internal auditors for direct assistance wherever the risk is very high. And if you remember, SA 610 discussion, we have discussed one paragraph. In that I have told that the statutory auditor can't use the work of internal auditors for direct assistance in three areas. Number one, wherever risk is very high. Number two, wherever significant judgments are used. Number three, the work which has already been performed by internal auditor. Let me show you that reference to the paragraph here. So what I'm talking about, if you go to SA 610. SA 610, yes, in the audit reporting chapter we'll be able to find it. So just I wanted to show you the reference. This is how you have to read and interpret the questions, guys. That is the main objective of spending this much amount of time in explaining the MTP. If I have to just explain the questions and answers, my job would have been done in simply half an hour. But that is not my objective. My objective of doing this video is to develop that reading capability, interpretation skills of the, which is helpful for the examination. That is the main objective. Yes. So if you see SA 610, in the SA 610, they will give one paragraph. The following areas should not be allocated to internal auditors for direct assistance. You can use internal auditors for direct assistance, but you should not use in the below areas internal auditors for direct assistance. In which areas you should not use? Wherever significant judgments are there, which involves huge estimates and judgments. Wherever risk of material misstatement is very high, and relating to work with which internal auditors have been involved. If some work is already done by internal auditors, the same work you should not allocate it for direct assistance once again. Now, in the question, they have told that there is a high risk of material misstatement in the valuation of trade receivables. There is a high risk in valuation of trade receivables. You tell me, can this work be allocated to internal auditors for direct assistance? No. When it comes to this valuation of trade receivables, this is a high risk area. This should not be allocated for direct assistance to internal auditors. But now look at the question, what they are asking. He wants to take direct assistance of the chief auditor in respect of valuation of trade receivables. Can he do it? No. Discuss along with reasons whether it would be proper for the statutory auditor for assessing, checking accuracy of aging of trade receivables to internal auditor, and also assigning evaluation and adequacy of provision based on aging of trade receivables to the chief internal auditor. So he wants to verify, he wants to hand over certain works to internal auditors for direct assistance. And two kinds of works he wants to assign. Number one, verifying accuracy of aging. Number two, checking the calculation of provision. Provision for debtors. So provision for debtors will have a direct impact on valuation. Creating a provision is an area which requires valuation. Yes or no? And when you are creating provision, provision is a matter of assumption. Provision is a matter of judgment. So calculating provision involves a lot of judgments made by the management. And SA 610 specifically told that wherever significant judgments are there, that work should not be given for direct assistance. So you can't allocate the second item, calculation of provision. Giving the internal auditors the work of verifying the provisions is not correct. Why? Because creation of provision involves a lot of significant judgments. And SA 610 specifically says that wherever the judgments are very high, those areas should not be allocated to the internal auditors. Now, auditor wants to allocate one more area to the internal auditors, aging of trade receivables, verifying aging of trade receivables. Sir, what is aging of trade receivables? Nothing but on the basis of number of days they are overdue. For example, if the debtor is required to pay me on 30th of June, but he did not pay me on, till 30th of September. So this amount remained overdue for more than 90 days. Maybe, for example, it remained overdue for more than 90 days. Now it will go and sit in the more than 90 days column. If any amount remains overdue for 0 to 30 days, that amount should come and sit here. If any amount remains overdue for more than 90 days, that amount should come and sit here. If any amount is more than overdue for more than 365 days, that amount should come and sit here. So this is what we call it as aging. On the basis of number of days they are overdue, we have to divide the trade receivables. That we call it as aging. You tell me, in doing this aging, any judgment is involved? In doing this aging of the trade receivables, any assumption is involved? Not required. When aging is purely factual data. So due date will be there. From the due date, you have to calculate how many days it is overdue, and accordingly, you have to take that amount to the respective column. So do you think in this aging process, any significant judgment is involved? No judgment is involved here. It is just a factual data. So can this work I can allocate to internal auditors? Yes. Why? Because it does not involve any significant judgments. It is a purely factual data. But when it comes to calculation of provision, that is highly judgmental, a lot of assumptions will be involved. This area you should not allocate it for direct assistance, but comfortably you can allocate aging related verification. Why? Because verification of aging does not involve any judgment. It is purely a factual data. That work you can allocate it for internal auditors to direct assistance, but this work you should not allocate it for. But calculation of provisions involves significant judgments. That work should not be allocated for internal auditors for direct assistance. Clear? Now coming to the next question. The audit of government expenditure is one of the major components of the government audit. Briefly explain the basic standards set in place audit of government expenditure. Straightforward question. How do you verify government expenditure? This is from the government audit related chapter. 5 things you have to verify regarding government expenditure. Audit against rules and orders, audit of sanctions, audit against provision of funds, proprietary audit, performance audit. Straightforward points you have to write here. Next one. Cinescreen Multiplex Limited is operating cinemas in different locations in Mumbai and has appointed you as an internal auditor. What are the areas that you need to verify in relation to sale of tickets? So this is also a straightforward question. So what things you will try to verify regarding sale of tickets in a movie theater? So we have all these points in our material also that you can refer it. Straightforward question. No need to explain specifically. This we have already discussed in the classroom for a long period of time. Next one. Given below is a table containing column A and column B. Column A contains the controls, and in the column B you have to write which type of control it is. This is the question from audit in an automated environment. So this also we have covered in our material. They have given the test kind of control. We have to identify which kind of control it is. So this, if I have to show it to you in the material, just give me a moment. That's the material. Searching is taking a lot of time here. Okay. I should have sorted it. Fine. So if you come to the audit in an automated environment. Yes. So this is the audit in an automated environment chapter. So if you come to the controls part, see here, general IT controls are there. So here they are giving examples of the few controls and they are asking me to write which kind of control it is. So if you pay close attention here, you come to the question bank once again. So from these controls they have given, like for example, in one option they have told change management related control. In one option they have given some other thing. So just we have to write whether it will be application control or a general IT control. So like controls over data center and network operations, this will be a general IT control. Controls over application system acquisition, development and maintenance, this will also be a general IT control. Program change related controls, that will also be a general control. Whereas reasonableness check. See, what is general IT control? The controls which are working over the entire IT infrastructure. But the control, if it is working only on specific kind of application, that we call it as application control. Reasonableness check means this is one of the thing which will check whether the transaction is correctly recorded or not. That we call it as reasonableness check. That means this reasonableness check will work in specific application. So this will be a application control. Clear? So this is something which you have to correlate with that audit of items of audit in an automated environment chapter. So just go to that controls part. If you go through the controls part once, you can easily write this. Okay, so first one will be application control. Why? Because it will work on a specific application, whereas the balance 3 are general IT controls. Clear? So just read that controls part from the audit in an automated environment. You will be able to get the answers correctly. Next one, an engagement partner. See, this last question contains choice within the choice. Inside choice will be there. Like from B or C, any one question you can write. So coming to the last question, an engagement partner takes overall responsibility for maintaining audit quality and an audit engagement in accordance with SA 220. What are his objectives in taking that responsibility? Straightforward question, SA 220, how the engagement partner can fulfill the leadership responsibility for quality, how you can fulfill the leadership responsibility. This also we have discussed. So as an engagement partner, you have to take the leadership responsibility. In taking that leadership responsibility, either by way of your actions or either by way of your communications, you should highlight the importance of maintaining the quality. You should highlight the importance of doing the work as per professional standards. You have to highlight how important it is to do the work as per laws and regulations. You have to highlight how important it is to give appropriate audit reports, and you have to create such a favorable environment where people will be able to raise the concerns without any fear of reprisals. Exact terminology, whatever we have read in SA 220, the same thing has been given even in the answer also. Clear? So we have discussed close to 2 hours 15 minutes regarding this MTP. But if you would have paid close attention, I did not focus on explaining the question and reading the answer. My main focus has been to make you, to educate you how to read the question, how to interpret it, how to link it with the concept, how to present the answer in a suitable manner. So presentation skills is my main objective, and especially how you have to read, how you have to interpret the MCQs. That has been my main intention of doing this video, and I hope I have given that education for you regarding the awareness of how to read the questions and how to spend the time in reading the questions and all. So that has been my main intention. Hope this video will help you out. If you find this video informative, please do share it with your friends also. Thank you so much, guys. Once again, all the very best for your examination.